guys? This is Brian,
Susan, and Dave
from 3-Player Co-op, and you're listening to a podcast specializing in sports, life, and shenanigans, the Modern Maverick Podcast. Check out our podcast on iTunes. 3-Player Co-op, proving that while 2's a party, 3 helps you get things done. That wasn't bad.
Oh, it's time for another episode of the Modern Maverick Podcast with the Maverick, JFlynn. Life, sports, shenanigans. Let's do this, fuckers. Oh, shit. It's been a long time, been a long time, been a long time.
Have you been lonely?
I have. What's up, peeps? It's time for another episode of the Modern Maverick Podcast with your hosts, the Modern Maverick and JFlynn. What's up, buddy?
What is up, man? Good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while. Vacation.
Yeah.
You went on vacation. I went on vacation. Everybody went on vacation.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, that's what summers are for, right?
So this week's episode is brought to you by no one because we got no more sponsors. My friend's company, my friend that used to sponsor our podcast is taking a break for a while. So we got no more sponsors. So anybody out there that has a small project, a small business, anything interesting in sponsoring our podcast, you can reach us at info@modernmaverick.net or Twitter or Facebook or phone or by mail.
Or just Google us.
Just Google the Modern Maverick Podcast or www.modernmaverick.net.
And I'll write witty jingles for you.
Very jingles. So what's up, man?
I'm good. A little hungover today.
Yeah, you went to a wedding last night?
Yeah, you know how big Italian weddings are. Lots of food, lots of booze.
2 Italians?
2 Italians, yeah. So
actually, wait a minute. It's Pinot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. GM in our league.
Yeah.
Went from first to last over the course of 2 seasons.
He's been with us for 2 seasons, and was he in
the third year he's with us now?
Oh, was it third year? He took over Manak's team, right?
Yeah, and he ended up in his second year. He ended up winning the thing, and last year he didn't do so good.
So you went to a wedding. It was good?
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, my best buddy Matthew's baby sister is kind of like a sister to me when we were growing up. My sister I never had, so it was a little emotional, but yeah.
Weddings are always emotional. Break out the tissues, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I had an awesome time. I stuffed my face with lots of food and booze.
That's how you do it at weddings, right?
Got to catch up with a bunch of his family that I hadn't seen in a while, all his cousins and whatnot.
That's good.
Hit the dance floor a bit,
yeah.
Showed off my moves. Yeah, I got pulled out on the dance floor, and it's a good thing I had about 4 or 5 shots of Jamie after I arrived. So
Damn.
I loosened up pretty quick, and I was like, okay, you're lucky I've already been drinking, because otherwise I would have been sitting at that table. And I busted out these salsa moves that I didn't know I had. But I have been to Cuba a couple of times, and I guess subliminally, subconsciously, there were still like those lessons by the pool were still in my brain. So I started moving those hips, and they're like, damn, son, where'd you learn how to do that? I said, I can do a whole lot more.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, so I had a good time.
The ladies like when you can shake those hips.
Yeah, they do get impressed when they see you've got a sense of rhythm.
Yeah. Ladies like it when you know how to dance.
Yeah, and ladies love men in suits too. So
well, that they do.
Yeah.
I hate wearing suits. It ruined it for me. I used to work in retail where you had to wear a suit every day.
Oh fuck.
And you work retail, so you work 6, sometimes 7 days a week if you're going to make money, right? You work on commission. I used to sell electronics, and we used to wear suits every day.
They put you in a suit to sell electronics?
Yeah, it was Sony. We used to sell Sony store.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a year or a bit after I left, then they started going, oh yeah, guys don't have to wear suits anymore. We're going to give you these nice polo shirts, and you just wear some nice khaki pants or whatever. Yeah. So I knew towards the end, before they mostly all closed the store, you didn't have to wear suits. But when I worked there, I had to wear a suit. So you wear, shirt and tie every day, and it ruined it for me. Yeah. I enjoy going to a wedding once in a while and wearing a suit and maybe a party here and there. But if I had to wear a suit every day, I would shoot myself in the face. I see these people every day where I work downtown. I see people in suits all day. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I don't know how some people do it. Especially, you see people on scooters and mopeds and in their suits, and they tuck in their socks, you know, and they take a Bixie bike, and it's like, I don't know. Like,
I sweat just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Even in the winter, or even when it's not hot outside.
So, I don't know.
Wearing a suit, you're pedaling. I see these people on, like, maybe not on bikes, but on like, yeah, like, I don't know, it's hot outside. I'm like, nah, man, I hate wearing suits.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so good. It's good. Wedding. I haven't been to a wedding this summer. Normally we go to a few weddings, but this year, I don't know, I think my girlfriend's cousin got married, but I ended up staying home with the kids.
Okay.
So she went, I think we did a podcast that day, actually. I skipped the wedding so we could record a podcast.
Did you really?
Yeah. Oh. So I got out of that like that. Happens. But yeah, so it's been 4 weeks since our last podcast.
Has it been that long? Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks. I don't remember. I think it was July 12th.
Yeah.
So more or less 4 weeks. Yeah. You know, vacation and stuff. A lot of things has happened in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. It's yeah. A lot of shit has happened in the last 4 weeks.
Mm.
I marked down a few things just to refresh my memory, because I was like, fuck, man. All these things seem to be happening in the news, and then every day or every other day there's something new.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, man.
Unfortunately, not much of the news is good news either. Huh?
It's pretty much negative news. What we've lost another plane, I think, since we last podcast, or did we?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that happened in between. Yeah.
You know, there's a war going on apparently in Israel and Palestine. That's pretty fucked up. U.S.
Army's back in Iraq.
That too, I kind of forgot about that.
The whole Ukraine, Russia, Crimea thing is still going on,
which I don't hear about. I don't.
No.
Is that weird?
No. Well, now it's the riots in Missouri.
In Ferguson, Missouri. Yeah. Ferguson is the place, right?
Ferguson is the place. Yeah. Michael Brown was the.
I saw
18-year-old got shot.
I saw a video about that. CNN finally gave out the name of the cop, and then they tried to, like, I guess, save their ass a little bit, saying that he had stolen a cigarette or a cigar.
Yeah, a box of cigars, and they had security footage of him roughing up the shopkeeper on his way out.
So in the video, I saw that's him roughing up. He's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
But still, even if obviously he did it because you see the video, but so he stole it. And then what after?
But yeah, but then after releasing the video, they claimed that and then the initial report said that's why they had the cop car had pulled over when they saw him, and afterwards the report was no, the two incidents have nothing to do with each other. The reason why the cops, pulled off to the side of the road was to tell them to walk on the sidewalk, apparently because they were walking in the middle of the street or something. And
so they went back when they arrested him, they had no idea that he had stolen something.
Apparently not. Apparently the two had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
But I don't know, man. It's been crazy. And then things got calm a bit after they got the state troopers to replace the SWAT team and stuff, because it was just getting nuts. And then if you read up on it today, you see that last night shit got bad again.
They've been rioting for a week.
And looting. But I got to give props to some of these people that are standing up to the looters and, like, protecting the shops and stuff.
I saw a picture yesterday of a guy with, like, had a machine gun.
Oh, fuck, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I just saw a bunch of dudes that were just standing. They were all standing in front of the store and they had their hands up, showing the cops, listen, we're not here to fucking cause any trouble. We're trying to help you guys out and protect the businesses. That's what drives me nuts when there's looting.
Well, I think the people looting aren't even there for to like voice their cause. They're like, oh, we're just going to join these people that are rioting for the right reason, and then we're just going to kind of... It's the same thing happens in Montreal every time there's a riot.
Every time.
You got the people that are there for an actual cause that are just basically... They want to be heard. They're not doing anything wrong. And then you got the other people that are breaking windows and stealing shit, Yeah,
man.
Like after hockey games and stuff like that, which I find extremely... because the media is only going to concentrate on the people looting and say, oh, look at them, look what they're doing in this, and then the whole point of the rioting or the whole point of the story just gets lost, which is sad. I just find that it's weird, well, not weird, but amazing that for a week now, that's all we've been hearing about, especially if you go to CNN or anything.
Oh yeah, CNN is just always an update.
It's pretty big, and I think it proves once again that nowadays with social media, you can't really just pull out your gun, even if you're an officer of the law, and just shoot people for no reason. In my opinion, if you're a cop or an officer of the law or anything, you should be trained that although you do have a gun, that should be the last resort.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
should be able to. Every cop, in my opinion, should have some sort of self-defense training or like some sort of martial arts training that they can use.
And they should all have, tasers, I guess. Shouldn't they all have a taser handy? At least in like something in a situation like this, like you just tase the kid.
What happened with tasers? Did they make them illegal because one person died?
No, I think they're still legal. I don't know if it depends on what state or whatnot in the U.S. I know in Canada, they got a bit of a bad rap after
there's a guy in the airport.
Dude in the airport out in Vancouver a few years ago, right? That died as a result.
But
I guess like anything.
Okay, so one guy from a taser dies, but every time somebody gets shot with a gun,
chances are he's going to die.
Yeah. But they don't outlaw guns.
No.
I think tasers are 100 times safer than guns. I've seen people get tasered and they don't even go down. It's like,
Well, Christ,
obviously
watch a couple of Jackass videos.
Exactly. So there has to be a different. But I just find that I think cops that they kind of panic right away. They put in a situation where they're like, this guy was unarmed, so the worst thing he could do is start beating you up. But you're a cop,
and if he wasn't alone, right? He wasn't the only cop there.
Exactly. So if these cops can't handle one guy with no gun, no nothing, and they panic and they draw their weapon and right away, it's like, dude.
Yeah, I've never understood. I think we've mentioned this, and I don't know what the standards are as far as your physical build to apply to be a police officer, but especially in the summertime and it's festival season, so they got all the cadets blocking the streets. You look at most of these cadets and
here in Montreal,
and do any of them look like they could hold their own if it came down to something like that?
Dude,
no.
I saw.
So what do they do? They pull out the gun.
Yeah, that's their resort. They're like, I don't have to be in shape. I have a gun.
Exactly.
I don't have to go to the gym. I don't have
so
to
much
learn
that's wrong
anything.
with that,
I saw a cop the other day in the street. I'm like, if right now, if I wanted to run away from this guy, there's no way that guy could catch me. He was by far overweight. And if I would have ran, he wouldn't have had any choice to draw his weapon or even threaten me with like freeze. If I hear freeze, I'm like, this guy's got a fucking gun pointed at me.
Yeah.
I'm going down, But even that, like that time it happened here in Montreal where they shot a homeless dude. Was it a homeless dude? And then somebody else ended up dying because it ricocheted. They shot the homeless dude.
Yeah.
The guy they had two cops chasing one homeless dude with no arms, no guns, and they had to, because he was running away, they shot at him. I mean, it's ridiculous. Same thing happened, was it like 5 or 6 years ago with that big up in Saint Michel here?
Yeah, with the kid Villanueva, yeah.
There's like 2 or 3 cops with a bunch of kids, and all of a sudden they start wrestling each other, and all of a sudden somebody gets shot. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man, but it's a bit sad.
And that was a female cop that shot him, I think, right?
No, there was a female cop there, but it's the male cop.
It was the male that shot. Though I think that was sketchy though at the beginning. I think any of those investigations like into a police incident, it's always sketchy. I don't know how much we can trust that comes out. They're
most
always
of the
covering
time
each
it's the
other's
police investigating other police officers. Of course, there's gonna be a slight overlook of a few things because they're gonna obviously side
for sure.
Even if it's just a little bit on one point, they're gonna overlook something just because I'm gonna take. This is a neutral point, so I'm just going to side with the cost because I'm also part of the system, and they're not. But I think they're trying to change that, where I think it should be a third-party arbitration type system. Because let's face it can't be the people, because then the people would all mostly take the side of the victim in any case. It can't be the police force. It has to be some sort of
Yeah, no, you need some sort of mediator there. You need some sort of unbiased third party who can step in and figure out what the hell happened.
What I hate about the whole thing is that I know a few cops, especially here in the Montreal area.
Yeah,
and especially because I go to at the MMA gym. There's a few.
Oh, there must be a few guys that train. Yeah,
they're the nicest people. There's one guy I train with, nicest guy in the world. Like super nice. You talk to him. You can easily approach him. He talks to you. Easy to talk to, nicest guy in the world. most of them are probably like that.
Yeah.
Do I know many? I don't know many cops, especially here.
No.
But nice. And that's probably the majority of them. But let's face it, there are cops that can't deal with the pressure, that can't deal with, and some are just assholes.
Yes.
I've seen some that act on power.
Yeah,
like, I
it's
have
like the
power.
high school bully who, still wanted to bully people after high school, so he joined the police force, right? I mean, have you ever had a chance to speak to your cop buddy about stuff like that? Like, like if they're...
I bring it up once in a while, but I don't want to see his point. It's not I don't want to see his point of view, but I respect the kind of friendship we have, and I guess that I wouldn't maybe.
You don't want to put him in an awkward situation where you ask him something like,
Plus, I think if he's a cop, I think he shouldn't be able to really talk about that. I think he should keep that separate. You know what I mean? You're paid to protect and serve the community. I don't think you should be babbling around every other thing while you're at it. But I think should be able to ask him questions about how the system works. That's fine. Yeah. But knowing him, I think he would be he'd see the things the same way I see them. From what I see him. Plus, he does martial arts. He's been doing them not just at our gym, but I think he did some sort of other martial arts. So he has that kind of a humble respect towards people. Because in the gym, when you do mixed martial arts, which somebody said this the other day, I don't remember who it was, and to me it made so much sense. I think martial arts or some sort of self-defense system like that should be taught in school. Yeah. That is something that should be taught in school. Why? Because I think a lot of kids have to be humbled in a certain way where they know that they can't always be the bully. They have to know, oh shit. Like, I think it's as important to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. It's a bit cliche, but it's the same way. I think if you're humbled and I think people that do martial arts, mixed martial arts, any sort of martial arts, they're quickly humbled. Especially if you do jiu-jitsu. I'm sorry, but if you do jiu-jitsu and you think you're tough, like, yo, bro, no, I'm in the street, yo. Then you go into a jiu-jitsu class and you get tapped out 100 times in your first class, and you're like, what the fuck? That guy that just tapped me out could have killed me at any moment. Because if you didn't let go, you could easily be killed. You know what I mean? So you're just fighting for your life, and I think that kind of like humbles you in a way where people go, oh shit, I have to be careful in the street now because I don't know who. Because you go in a jiu-jitsu class and 50% of these guys look like computer geeks. Yeah, but they'll fucking choke you out in an instant like this, and you're like, fuck. Yeah, so I think
the nerds are rising up, man.
They have. Look at Joe Lozon. You look at this guy in the street, you'd be like, I'd kick this guy's ass. You'd be on your back bleeding if in 30 seconds or less, Yeah. So I think cops, they have probably the hardest job in the world. Every day they have to deal with assholes. They most likely deal with somebody that's lying to them all the time or trying to get out of trouble. And that can't be easy. No. So when you're dealing with real people in real life, you always have that barrier where like, is that guy fucking with me? Is this guy bullshitting me right now? Like, because your bullshit meter is always on. It has to be. Because you're a cop. Every time you pull somebody over, you're like, oh, was I speeding? I didn't see the sign. Oh, I didn't see the stop. Oh, you know the guy's lying. You know what I mean? Like, I've been there. We've been there. You've been there. You've been pulled over. You're like, oh, no, I swear to God, I didn't see the sign.
I don't get tickets, bro. I just show a little skin.
Yeah?
I just show a little skin when I see the cops.
And they let you...
No.
They let you go?
No. I've been lucky, actually. I've been a pretty good driver the last... I think it's been about 10 years since I've had my last speeding ticket.
Last speeding ticket I got was...
Parking ticket's a different story.
Yeah, that... I got pulled over going in Laval. There's one... There's not all the lights you can turn on red sometimes. Yeah. Certain hours. And I fucking turned. Three guys. I fought. First guy went. Second guy went. I was the third in line. I just went. I knew I couldn't turn. I knew it.
But you figured
there's a cop just sitting there, just waving everybody over. And I'm like, fuck, what are you talking about? And I was right away. I'm like, well, dude, the fucking sign is green. It's green. It's green. And I was like, no. He's like, they don't even argue now, right? No. They don't like ask you, like, do you know what you did wrong? They're like, license registration, be right back. And he comes back with ticket, or have a good day. I'm like, what the fuck, man? $162 late. I'm like, what?
They charge that much for turning on a
Minimum charge now, I think the minimum fine now is like 160.
Holy shit.
Nothing under that.
God damn.
I got pulled over for speeding. The last time I got a speeding ticket was in 2000, and I was coming back from New Brunswick, and I got pulled over between Quebec and Montreal. I was doing about $145 or $140, 140, between 140 and 145. The guy didn't even ask any question. Paper registration, went back, came back, said, here you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, here, I was doing like 20, 30 some over. You know, it's 100. I was doing 40 over. Like, fuck.
Yeah, those tickets get pricey there once you're in that range, eh?
And I didn't pay the ticket.
Yeah.
I forgot about it.
Oh, fuck.
I'm like, I'll pay it later. Like, and they don't fucking send you a letter like 30 days. Like, it expires 30 days, right? You have 30 days to pay it or to send the thing that says you're going to show up to court. But they're so busy that even if you go over 30 days, you might just get a letter like 6 months later going.
Yeah.
I remember getting, I think, a letter like 4 or 5 months after that saying you didn't pay your ticket. You didn't show up in court. Now your ticket is like $260 with the fees. And I was like, fuck, I forgot about this ticket. And if you don't pay it within 30 days, then we impound your car and then you basically get arrested the next time we see you. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, fuck, I forgot to pay it. That's my fault.
Yeah, they keep track of stuff like that.
I hate, listen, like I said, they have a hard fucking job. There's no doubt about it, because a lot of people, when they get arrested, they're lying and they're trying to connive their way out of a ticket or out of trouble. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I mean, still, I think they should do some sort of a better job teaching them. And if you go out on your own, like my friend, which goes out on his own to take a martial arts class to do these things, that's great, because when he's put in a situation, he won't rely on his gun. He'll rely on his self-defense, and he'll be able to see if the guy has a gun. Obviously, if a guy pulls a gun on you, I hope the cop pulls a gun. You're fucked. Self-defense, right? Who shoot first? That's it. That's life. But fuck, man. And these things every day now I see a video on YouTube about cops like being like, they roughed up kids. I saw a video. Was it before I left on vacation here in Montreal? There were a bunch of skater kids. See this video? And so. For some reason, the cops wanted this guy to open up his bag. He had a backpack. The guy's like, I'm not opening up my bag. Like, I've been doing nothing wrong. We've been here skating. You guys show up, 3 cops, and all of a sudden you want to see what's in my bag? I'm like, I'm not opening up my bag. And you got to open up your bag or something like that. And then all of a sudden, somebody else got involved. Like, oh, you guys. And then one was filming, and they were asking him to stop filming, which he didn't. Then all of a sudden, they had their hands on him, on one of the guys. They were fucking wrestling to the ground for no reason, putting cuffs on him, holding him by the throat.
Oh, fuck.
I'm like, what happened? The guy did nothing. He didn't put your hands on you. He didn't flash a weapon or knife or anything. He didn't make no sudden movement. All of a sudden, because he didn't want to open his bag, which he doesn't have to. You don't have a warrant to search him. And all of a sudden, you're fucking wrestling this guy to the ground. This guy's just filming it. And as they're wrestling him, one of the woman cop realizes that, oh shit, this is not good. So she's like trying to like stand in front of their camera or something and trying to get the guy to stop filming or I'm going to arrest you, which you can't.
You can't, no.
I can film whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I see those videos so often, and I'm
shit
like,
makes me crazy, man.
Fuck, man.
No, my friend at work was telling me a story. Her fiance was waiting for her at the metro station down the street from her office, and he's a black dude, and he's sitting on a bench waiting for her to finish her shift, and a couple of cops show up and say, "What are you doing?" So I'm waiting for my fiance to finish work. He's like, "Yeah, you got any drugs on you? You selling drugs?" He's like, "No. And if I did, why would I admit to it anyway? Like, what's your problem? Like, I'm just sitting here, you know." They ended up searching him. They were even slapping his mouth to check if he was hiding anything.
Fuck no, man.
And he went along with it. He didn't want to put up a fight, I guess.
Yeah.
I figure it's not worth it. But, like, if that shit happened to me, I don't know how I'd react.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, as much as, like the guy who got choked out in New York, what's it, Eric Garner? Was that his name?
Yeah, he died, right?
He died, right? They choked him, right? Using an illegal chokehold that they're not supposed to be using. But basically, the cops basically said, your lack of respect for the NYPD is what caused this death. You know, and people find it's there's too many people think it's acceptable to, you know, refuse, a request by the police to refuse to identify themselves. They argue and struggle and resist arrest. But when you see incidents, and we do see them now because everybody's filming these, like, how could you not want to still stand up for yourself and defend yourself? So as long as these ridiculous incidences are still occurring, where just innocent people are being, are basically being victimized by police, I'm sorry, but I mean, you can't just expect everyone to just, sure, no problem. You want to search me for no particular reason? Sure, take away all my human and civil rights. Like, what the fuck?
And especially, I think you made an important point where the more people see these videos of this injustice, the more they're going to be, they're going to restrain themselves when they're faced in that situation, because they know for a fact that it's not right what they're doing. And they automatically start feeling like a victim right away because they saw that video, because they've seen 100 more videos of the same situation because of social media and all that thing. So, yeah, I don't really remember what happened. Why did the cops stop?
They accused him of selling loose cigarettes on a street corner. Apparently, he had been in trouble for this in the past. And that's... It started with that. They confronted him regarding that, and next thing you know, they've got the guy in a chokehold.
Wow.
And he's screaming he can't breathe, and he dies.
It's crazy that even though he was most likely committing a crime, it wasn't a violent crime. The guy was selling cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you say, like, you run away, you're going to get shot. Like, now it's what you see, like police chases. Like, there was a kid who ended up dying in a police chase a couple of weeks ago, and his father went out and said to the media, I don't understand why the cops chase these guys when, like, you have the guy's license plate. Yeah, you'll find him. Just
go show up to his home a few hours later, see if he's there.
But I mean, in the meantime, they're risking their own lives, they're risking other people's lives,
and people on the street too, right? So it's ridiculous,
So at a certain point, it's like, why are you even? Don't even encourage it. Just you know who it is. Just fuck it. Go wait for him at home.
And what happened? They shot at him, or
no? He ended up crashing his car
and dying.
Yeah,
I didn't hear about that. Just in the States, or
no? This was here. It was out in I think it was out in like Vaudreuil or something. Somewhere out west.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know that. But yeah, I think this day and age, I think this shit shouldn't be happening anymore.
No. And it seems like, I don't know, a lot of like policing tactics haven't really changed, right?
Oh, listen, Spike TV, I have Spike TV, and it's funny because I don't know what's going on with Spike TV, but they basically only show episodes of cops.
Pretty much.
After they, and there's not a lot of things on TV right now, so once in a while, in the last few days, and even my girlfriend's like, why the fuck are you always watching cops? I'm like, because that's the only thing that's on, and Spike TV, it's like episode after episode, and I'm like, it's entertaining. And yesterday, the last episode I watched yesterday was this guy. Basically, he pulled him over, and all he was doing was selling weed.
Okay.
He was selling weed. He wasn't even selling weed. I think with the guy, he was at a train. Yeah, he was at a gas station on his bike. Cops showed up, arrested him right away. It's like, get out, and they fucking get out of their car, guns pointed right away, like, get on the ground, and then there are like 3 cops. 2 on the guy on the bike, 1 also guns pointed to the guy in the car, which they only assume is buying or selling the drugs. But they knew the guy. The guy on the bike had been arrested before. Most of these cops know them. It was just like, they just showed us like, oh, here's, the whatever his name is. And he's like, he's selling again. We just pulled him over 6 weeks ago. He did a stint and this and that. He's high as fuck. You can tell the guy's high. The guy's black. The cops are all white. This is in Texas. I don't know if you know, but in Texas, you get caught with a fucking smidgen of weed and you're going to jail for life. You're lucky if you don't get the electric chair. And it's for weed. I don't fucking get it. The guy had some weed. He also had thrown a pack of cigarettes on the ground that had crack cocaine in it and other stuff. But the only thing they caught on him was an ecstasy pill. Only thing they caught on him was a small ecstasy pill. One. And then they spoke to the guy in the car. It's like, yo, I was like, did you do time? And it's like, yeah, I've been arrested before. And like, for what? For weed. It's like, yeah, okay. You did what? Like 30 days in weed for like one. I don't know if you had like one, not for selling weed, just for smoking weed.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man. This is ridiculous because in America, marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug.
Yeah. Well, depending on the state, right? I mean, everybody's got. And I was gonna say, like, Cops.
Colorado.
I don't think Cops is filmed in any state like north of like Virginia, right? Like, I mean, it's always in those southern
I always
states,
see Las
right?
Vegas because it's entertaining.
Oh, they do Vegas, yeah.
They do Vegas,
Florida, I imagine a lot.
yeah, Orlando. I see
Like, there's no Cops New York
Portland.
City, right?
I see Portland a lot for some reason.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I see Portland, which is close to it's north, it's northwest, right? Close
Right.
to
Yeah.
Seattle.
Well, it's like.
But yeah, most of the time it's like New Orleans. The other day was New Orleans, and the episode, and it was the Mardi Gras,
Oh boy.
and people were smoking weed. They had these cops dressed as civilians going around. The minute they saw guys smoking weed on the ground, they would have fucking arrested them right away for smoking a joint. Are you fucking kidding me? At least in Canada, marijuana is Schedule 2 drug, so you're not. It's not like Schedule 1 is the worst. I mean, marijuana is a worse drug in the state than opiates.
Really?
Yes, opiates I believe is a Schedule 2 drug in the States, which basically is a heroin, right? But they sell it because they sell them as medication, right? People get hooked on that shit, man. They make so much money, and marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug, man. Still to this day. In Canada, it's a little bit more freely. I think if I was caught smoking a joint, I don't think I can go to jail as long as I'm not selling.
You'll get like a citation. I mean,
Did you get a fine or?
You're supposed to, but I'll tell you that every time I got busted with weed in my younger days, and it's happened a lot. Like, you know, I mean, I guess I fit that profile as far as what they were looking for back then. So whenever I was hanging around anywhere, cops would show up, and chances are, I got searched a few times, but you know, sometimes caught in the act of smoking a joint. Otherwise,
so what happens if I'm smoking a joint on the street?
Well, essentially, they make you put it out, and they write you. They say there's going to be a summons that you're going to have to show up at court. It's never happened. I never got anything in the middle. Like, oh yeah, wait. And especially when you're living at your parents' house, right? The last thing you want is a letter addressed from the police, you know. So I'd be checking the mail like every day, like, and nothing ever came of it.
Never.
So 4 or 5 incidents, and they just, you know, I'm sure they just fucking took my weed and smoked it later on at the end of their shift, man.
I had a friend back home that's what happened. He knows for a fact that's what happened.
Yeah.
They were parked like in the trees somewhere in the car. They were outside of their car. They were smoking a joint, and they had a baggies with like 2 or 3 joints in it. Cops showed up behind them. They were hidden, right? So the cop drove by, apparently saw the car was parked, turned around, stopped. There were 2 cops, and one of the cops was a younger guy. And when you live in a small community, I think you kind of know all the cops. Everybody knows everybody. And he knows for a fact they took the drugs, but nothing ever happened. It's like, we're going to take your bag. The bag was there were a few joints. They took the drugs. They didn't get fined and they had nothing. They just basically took their drugs away. And apparently it's rumored that they just ended up smoking.
Well, think about it. If you're not getting a ticket or a summons to court or whatnot, like, do you think
they don't have to prove that they arrested somebody?
No, that's it. Like, they just basically stole your weed is what happened. Like, I just got thiefed.
I just showed up the next day at the station. I'm like, can I have my weed, man?
Yeah, like, seriously.
I didn't get a ticket.
I didn't get a ticket, so...
Motherfucker took my weed, man.
So,
Shit's not cheap, man. I'm on a budget. I'm on a budget. Give me my weed back.
This was the expensive stuff,
That's
too.
That's the guy right there. He took my weed, man.
Make him piss. Make him take a piss test.
You got my weed. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Look at his eyes. He's fucking high right now, motherfucker.
But it's funny. I was reading, you know, they got this Il Sonic festival going on, or they did on Friday, Saturday at Jean Drapeau. The first time they do this electronic dance music festival, and like 100 people got arrested
for weed,
for pills, drugs, anything. And basically, guys were getting, you know, you always get the search from security, right? They had cops with them, and if they found you with drugs, they busted you right away.
Wow.
They arrested over 100 people. Most of them were just let go after a half an hour or whatever, and that's it. They probably cops just stole all their fucking drugs. But I'd never seen that before at a concert. Like, Christ, I went to Heavy Montreal last weekend, and, you know, you sneak in with a few joints or whatnot. I mean, everybody's smoking.
Did they search you when you got in?
A quick pat down, and that's it.
Make sure you're not bringing in alcohol?
Yeah.
Or like bottles or something?
Essentially.
Knives.
But mind you, we had bottles of water. They could have been filled with vodka. Like, they didn't even, because now they got to let you come in with water. There's no more of that bullshit. Yeah. Like, you know, like, listen, it's 35 degrees outside. Like, you can't tell people they can't bring in water, right? But, yeah, I figured they would have, like, smelled my bottle or something to see. was like, Christ, I could have had a fucking full bottle of vodka in there, you know. But yeah, so the first time I went through on day one, I just walked by with my hands up, and they just quickly, okay, go through. They were just searching people who had bags. Second time, the girl actually made me empty my pockets and took my pack of cigarettes and looked inside. I strategically hide my joints though, so you can't find them. But just to say, like, what the fuck, you know, like day one, I didn't have this issue.
Was it a cop or was it just security?
No, just security. You know, like, you know, I've never seen cops like that at the gate. So all these people were getting arrested before they even made it into the fucking festival. And this is all because of those people. Kids have been dying there from overdosing on fucking ecstasy and shit. They had that festival in Toronto. Really? And there was I don't know if it was 1, 2, or 3 people ended up dying between that and the other festivals going on. So now like they're fucking paying attention to these raver kids. Fuck.
Yeah, the pills aren't good, man, because half the shit that's on the street is probably cut with with chemicals that aren't even, you know, buzzing you. They're just killing you. You know what I mean? But it's funny because once I went to a 50 Cent concert back in St. John, and it was in an arena. And you're walking in, and they were checking everybody. And the guy that I remember, they were checking like lineups, and there was like 10 security guys patting down guys. I got patted down. My girlfriend at the time got patted down and searched and stuff. There were whatever's in your pocket. The guy next to me had a knife in his pocket.
The fuck?
They were taking it out. Fucking, all right, you can't come in with this. And they were just confiscating. Obviously, you get a fucking knife. Like, you ain't going hunting. You're going to 50 Cent concert. But I remember being at the concert, and I'm like halfway in the show. I'm like, that smells like weed. And then that's the beginning of the show. And then I was like, yeah, you smell that? Smell that? And by the end of the show, I got out of there. I reeked like weed. Yeah. Everybody's smoking weed. Yeah. They didn't stop anybody.
No, that's it. What
even worse shows, at an outdoor concert. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
So many cigarettes and drinking.
They leave you alone, you know. I mean, as long like that's why it was cool. It's like, you know, they leave the metalheads alone. You know, let us fucking drink and smoke. But
it would be fucking boring.
But those raver kids, watch out for them. They're trouble. But I'm assuming it's more of a, you know, it was for safety reasons. But Jesus, fuck, I wouldn't have expected. Like the first day one, there were like 47 reported arrested. Like this was only at like 9 p.m. Like there was still 2-3 hours left.
I guess
by the end of it was 97.
If they have a report that maybe there's like bad drugs on the streets, you know, they don't want kids to. I'm sure the organization too, the people that organize the concert, don't want people dying on their clock either.
No, and especially like it was their first year.
Like, yeah, fuck
and
this
if they want to
shit,
bring this festival back, because I mean, that's not happening at Osheaga, and I mean, there's a lot of electronic bands and there's a lot of kids popping pills and shit at Osheaga, but I don't think there were any cops arresting people at the gate there. So maybe it was the promoter who was like, you know, let's make sure we don't end up on the news the next day with some kid who died. But fuck, I was surprised.
That would be bad for the, you know, the people throwing the shit, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, arrest them for having bad taste in music.
Yeah. Or bad.
Who are you coming to see? Iggy Azalea and Tiesto? Yeah. Get in the car.
Get in the car. We're searching you. But I swear, I got no drugs. I ain't stopping you for drugs, motherfucker. I'm stopping you because your music choice sucks.
Your fine will be required listening. They're gonna sign you to like a couple of bands. You're like, all right, I want you to listen to this band, that guy, and that one. And you come back to the police station in 72 hours, and we want proof. We want you to memorize all the lyrics.
They give you good music and go here, go home and study the.
Take this Black Sabbath album and learn all the words. We'll see you in 2 days.
That sounds so mean. It hurts my ears. I don't like this music. It's so loud.
Oh, loud, man. Heavy Montreal was awesome, though, I must say. No Black Sabbath there, but Metallica.
Yeah, how was Metallica?
Still the best band in the world to see live.
Definitely, yeah.
Still my favorite live. It seems like every show it gets better and better. And this was Metallica by request, so all the fans got to vote online. So
they do that a lot.
They did nothing past the Black Album, dude. Everything, it was 1992 and before. Nothing. They didn't do anything from the Fuel, from Load, Reload, really Saint Anger, and Death Magnetic. Nothing off those albums. It was just classics.
I'd have been so disappointed because I'll be honest, I've been listening.
I know you like the new album,
Death Magnetic. In my opinion, their best album they ever did.
Oh, that's crazy talk. Don't say that to when you're amongst metalheads.
Yeah,
they'll be shunned
maybe
from
not.
their circle.
And Justice for All, I think, is their best album they did.
Really? You don't think? Oh, yeah, Master of Puppets all the way.
Master of Puppets.
I think it's greatest heavy metal album of all time.
Master of Puppet. Yeah.
I think regardless of the band.
Master of Puppet is good. I mean, I like Injustice. Injustice is
Justice for All. That was the first Metallica tape I think I got. Was Injustice for All.
very
It's a good one. It's a
very
great album.
political
Yeah.
album if you
Yeah.
listen to the lyrics. Back when I was a huge Metallica head and I used to listen to Metallica, I had all their albums. I'd Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, all the studio albums.
Yeah.
I didn't have Garage. Or the previous albums
Yeah.
either, but I remember always gravitating to that album, Injustice for All. I always liked the songs. My favorite song of all time is on that album. It's Dyer's Eve. It's the last song.
That's
on
your
the
favorite
album.
one? Yeah.
That's Dyer's Eve is probably my favorite song of my favorite Metallica song. And I remember always gravitating to that album for some reason. I listened to Master of Puppets. I liked a few songs. Sanitarium on that album is pretty good. And was it Battery is also on that?
Yeah,
Battery, and obviously Master of Puppets also, the solos and stuff. But I always gravitated to Injustice. There was a lot of songs on that album that were just, I don't know why. But I never really listened to I knew the lyrics, but I didn't get the significance of the lyrics.
I know. It's only now. It's true. I was thinking at the same thing. I was like, you know what? As a kid, like, I mean, listening to Metallica is like 8, 9 years old, but you don't really pay attention to the content back then.
No.
You don't really get what they're singing about either. Like, it took me a while to figure out that Master of Puppets was about drug abuse. You know, like I didn't know that as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I just figured
Is it
sounded
drug or
cool.
alcohol?
I thought it wasn't it drugs? Isn't it about heroin or?
Okay. I thought, maybe you're right. Because I thought it was because I think Hetfield was an alcoholic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could. I mean, I think you could easily replace. It could be drugs or alcohol. I mean, the message is the same, right?
I think Cliff Burton was a heroin addict.
That could be. That could be.
And that Master Puppet was his last album, right?
Right.
Before he died.
Yeah.
And I remember, was it a few months ago? I go through these phases where I'll download all their albums, I put them on my phone, and listen to them in my car. And I was listening to the Injustice for All, and I'm like, man, this album was way ahead of its time. Because everything they speak of in that album, if you listen to the lyrics in the context of the lyrics, it's perfect for today.
Yeah.
If the kids of today listen to this album, they would totally relate. It would be instant because everything makes sense. And I'm like, man, this band was like, I never realized they were somewhat of a political band, like against, not political, but against the system type thing. I just thought they played heavy metal because when you're 9, 10, 11, you're like, oh, this is loud music. I like the words. Yeah, it makes sense. Blah blah blah. I'm a badass. I listen to Metallica. But now I listen to Metallica. I'm like, fuck, man. They actually this actually makes sense. Have you seen the Metallica movie they made, which is a concert?
Yes, I watched that. That was like the first thing I watched on demand when I got my cable set up. I was like, oh, Through the Never?
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool.
Me and my girlfriend, I just scrolled the other day and I caught like the middle to the end. I'm like, oh yeah, I heard about this. I'm like, there's nothing else on TV. Let's watch before I go to bed. And I was like, wow, this is badass. And I'm like the props breaking and stuff, and I'm like, they try to make it look like it's not organized.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, man, I'm like, fuck. And the story of the guy that's just going through the apocalypse
like
and whatever
tripping,
with the fucking
tripping
Metallica
balls,
songs, and I'm like, but the reason why I say I love Death Magnetic, there's so many songs on that album that just remind me. And I think they remember when they came out with the Saint Anger album. Yeah. They got a lot of grief because
they fooled us into thinking it was good, and then you listen to it and you went, "What the fuck is this?"
You know why? There's no solos.
There is no solos. I know.
That's the biggest grief they ate because every album they ever made, every song has a solo, mid or end solo, and it's all about the guitar riffs. Hetfield and Hammett, and the drum solo as well, and even some bass solos on Ride the Lightning. There's
with Cliff Burton, when with Jason Newsted, not so much. But,
fuck, I like this new bass player though.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's got a lot of energy. He was with Suicidal Tendencies before.
Wasn't he with Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, he toured, he toured. I think he was Ozzy's touring bassist or something. I don't know if he was if he recorded any albums.
I like
with
how
him.
he's really low on his bass.
Fucking holds the low, drops down to his knees there almost. Yeah.
And he's badass, that guy. But then you talk to him, like they'll do interviews, and he's like the nicest guy in the world. You're like, what the fuck? You're like a puppy doll. You're like a little puppy. Like, oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. But yeah, and Death Magnetic, there's a few of their songs where they went back to having 7-minute songs.
Yeah, well, they went back to their old sound. I mean, it had been 20 plus years since we heard an album like Death Magnetic. So I understand what you mean, but it was so refreshing for them to go back to that sound. I'm so glad they listened to their fans.
Yeah.
And it was funny, actually, they were talking about posted something on their Facebook page the other day about the Saint Anger video. And they're like, from everybody's favorite album. They put it in quotation marks. Like, I'm glad that they realized that they really fucked up.
But even in concert, when they play one of their songs, they're like, oh, this is such and such from Saint Anger, the misunderstood album, our misunderstood album. Like, it's like, no, it sucks, man.
I don't know. It's just like his lyrics, his singing is not great. They got some really cheesy songs, like that Invisible Kid song is just so annoying to listen to. It sounds like it was written by a 13-year-old. And just the sound quality is horrible. Like, I remember thinking it was something wrong with my stereo when I put it in the first time. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with the sound?
That is not a good album.
It sounds like Lars is playing a bunch of oil drums, you know?
It wasn't well recorded, produced, and horribly produced, and the content of the album is just horrible. Yeah. But I think it was either before or right after James got out of rehab or before he went to rehab.
Yeah, he was in the process of going.
So it wasn't a good time to make an album.
No.
I think he was trying to find himself and maybe thought that reinventing himself with this new type of album would make sense.
And the, like the new metal chunky riffs that they were coming up with instead of just, going. I don't know. I don't know what they thought they were doing with that one. Maybe they thought what they were doing, what they ended up doing at Death Magnetic. And like you say, they were at a bad place. If you've seen some kind of monster documentary, I mean, you see the band was...
They were not even a unit. They were,
they were all
fighting
really,
and stuff.
And just Kirk Hammett, the only time he says anything is, "What do you mean no solos?" It's the only time.
I don't get to fucking play my guitar.
It's the only time he steps in, and all of a sudden he's not happy.
He has the baddest guitars, though. He has that white zombie guitar.
Yeah.
That's a badass guitar.
Yeah.
Man. But they're just probably in my opinion, the best band one of the best bands of all time. I mean. But if you think about it, if you look at, I don't know, give me a Black Sabbath. I'll give you an example. They made a lot of albums. Like probably more than a dozen albums?
Well, between different singers and different lineups over the years. I don't know if they've had that many. Off the top of my head, I would guess maybe 7 or 8.
Let's face it, are all their albums good?
Well, it depends. I mean, because they went from being with Ozzy, and then they went to Ronnie James Dio, and things kind of...
I guess it's different.
It's like it was band. Almost a different band. I mean, when you change lead singers, it's such a different style. I mean, I love Ronnie James Dio. Like, I love Dio. Like, his band Dio is amazing. But I was never... Like, even though, I mean, Black Sabbath was before my time, I started listening to them when I was a kid. But, I mean, I just listened to the old Sabbath. I don't listen to the Ronnie James Dio Sabbath. I mean, they got a couple of good songs, but... It's the original stuff that I want to hear. And I mean, for me, those first 3 albums, I mean, every song is amazing, So I think, is Metallica, the Saint Anger, is that their only bad album? In my opinion, well, you could argue Load and Reload. I mean, I've grown to appreciate them a little bit more, like songs like Hero of the Day and Fuel and stuff. Like, they're pretty good, but you realize that it's not the Metallica that, like I said, the Metallica that most people like. Oh, here you go, Black Sabbath discography. Oh, you might be right here. Because, it's true, because they did do a few albums in the 90s that I never listened to.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, yeah, there's like 15 albums that are listed.
So I think if you consider Metallica, what's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 albums?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, no, overall, and the fact that they were able to get back, on top of the metal world, between Death Magnetic and all these awesome tours that they've been doing over the years, like they've really won all their fans back.
Yeah, the Death Magnetic tour though is the one they did in Quebec. Mm-hmm. You can see the full concert on YouTube.
Yeah,
the Quebec one, and I watched it. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, that was a
pretty badass concert.
Yeah,
even the one they did in France. Did you see that one? It's called French for a Night or
no. I was gonna say I thought you were talking about the Sonosphere they did. Okay, no, I didn't see that.
They shot it in like this like old. It seems to be like an old. Is it that one? Yeah, I think it's that one. It seems to be like in the old like Rome Coliseum type environment.
Oh, nice.
And great concert. But yeah, I think their old stuff is obviously the best of their stuff. You saw Slayer too?
Saw Slayer. So I've never been a huge Slayer fan.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's a band that I definitely was going to check them out. Obviously, they were headlining the Sunday night. I was really pumped to see Lamb of God, which played just before Slayer. Like, Lamb of God is the best modern American metal band, like, bar none. Like, they're just amazing.
I've honestly never listened to their music. Is it like what's their sound? Is it way heavier than Metallica, or
it's heavy. It's heavier than Metallica, but it's also like he's
That's
a bit.
the
He's
sound.
not so much a guttural like a burper, but I mean he's got that.
do you understand the lyrics? When
You can, that's it. Like, you can make, because I'm not I listen to a lot of metal, but I always prefer like a bit of a melody, and I like to hear the lyrics as well. But Lamb of God, like he does. I mean, Randy Blythe is an amazing frontman, and live they're amazing. There's so much energy, and the songs are awesome. Slayer, however, I find a lot of Slayer songs like sound the same. Like, the two songs that everybody knows is Raining Blood and Angel of Death, and to be honest, like,
same guitar riff, like it's
almost
the same sound.
And honestly, you listen, and even listening to all their other stuff at the show, you realize like Kerry King, their guitarist, loves to use like two notes in particular in most of his little riffs and solos, and I swear to God, it's like every fucking solo almost sounds like the one from before. So it's tough. And I mean, a lot of speed metal's like that. I guess if you don't listen to a lot of speed and thrash, you don't really pick up the differences between songs. To me, it's just like da 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 da, it's just constantly, But no, I mean, they put on a good show. I mean, they were loud, and they were cool. Their singer doesn't come off as the most intelligent man in the world, though. He tried to
talking Lamb of God right now?
I know. I'm talking about Slayer. What was it? He goes off about what's going on in the world today, and the song that they were going to sing was called "Die by the Sword." And it came out on their first album. So he's like, we wrote this song 30 years ago, but it's more and more relevant, as the years go by. There's a lot of people talking about these people that are trying to get people to do what they want to do. And if you don't, you will die by the sword. I'm like, what the fuck kind of political speech was that? Like, you didn't call anybody out. Nobody's killing anybody with a sword. And the expression die by the sword I always associate with like a warrior, like going down in battle, right? You live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
Like Wu-Tang lyrics say, So I was like, okay, that was a really awkward speech. That didn't make much sense. But I mean, he still sounds good live, but their drummer's not there anymore. Dave Lombardo, he was my favorite member of the band because he's a badass drummer, and he's not with them anymore. So kind of loses a bit of that. But I mean, otherwise, it was a great weekend for heavy metal. Little bands that I didn't get that I've just recently heard of, when you find out who's on tour and you check them out, like Baby Metal. Have you heard of this group?
I saw you
posted about them, these 3 Japanese girls.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's
dude,
weird.
man, I had to see this, and Gary too was super excited. He's like, okay, we gotta check this band out, And man, it was entertaining as fuck. Like, the musicians are really good, and I mean, it's different. I mean, where else can you see 3 girls, that look like they should be following around Gwen Stefani?
It's all girls?
It's three chicks, but the band are guys, and they just wear like white face paint and white robes, so you don't know who they are. And they don't really get any credit. They just mention the 3 chicks when they talk about Baby Metal. But I think the musicians should get some credit because they were really good.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw a video posted. It looked like different. So
it was fun to see live, I must say. I mean, when they're dancing and wearing their matching outfits, it's like you're never gonna see this anywhere else.
Yeah.
That
was entertaining.
But only the Japanese. That'll never happen in America. They'll never take a couple of American Idol contestants and say, "Listen, we want to put together a heavy metal band, and we want you 3 chicks to sing for them."
What the fuck is up with that? Like, every time you see these reality talent shows, you never see a metal band, or you never see a real rock and roll. No. It's either country, or obviously pop, and even hip hop and R&B or anything. It's like, it's more like popish now.
It's all pop. I mean,
everything doesn't exist.
It feeds the masses. You'll get more people with pop, and that speaks to even to prove why Metallica is and may go down as one of the greatest rock bands of all time is the fact that they are a heavy metal band, and yet they are still that huge. And like you say, you don't see heavy metal hard rock bands in any of these competitions. Nobody's picking a Metallica song to sing on American Idol. So the fact that these guys have been able to do what they do and still pack stadiums and get that many people and just be in the mainstream the consciousness of the mainstream, I think speaks volumes to what they've been able to do and how big they really are.
There was them, and then at a certain point too in the 90s, there was Guns N' Roses, which Guns N' Roses probably at a point was bigger than Metallica.
Yeah,
and
when the Use Your Illusion albums came out there,
it fell off. And that they were like peak. They were touring together. Remember, they came to Montreal. Everything fell apart.
Big riot at the Olympic
and
Stadium.
stuff. And But I was a huge Guns N' Roses. When the Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 came out, I was a huge fan.
Oh, I
love
Axl
Guns N'
Rose was
Roses.
God.
Yeah.
As far as I was
And
concerned.
that red, the red one was the first one, right? Use Your Illusion 1?
Use Your Illusion, yeah. One was red and yellow.
With November Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that song, I used to listen to that song in my room, and oh my God, it was amazing. Same thing with the Use Your Illusion 2 with You Could Be Mine. With them, that song was in Terminator.
Yeah, the one from Terminator 2, yeah.
I mean, fuck,
Yeah,
man.
that song was
That's
so
the reason I bought that album, because I saw that movie. I was a huge fan of that movie. I'm
Yeah.
like, who sings that song? I was like, oh, it's Guns N' Roses. I'm like, who's Guns N' Roses? I go buy the album, and I was like, oh, holy fuck, I love this music. And I was a Metallica fan, and I was like, fuck, I ended up buying their albums and listening to their music. And then everything fell apart.
And then Nirvana was on top of the world for a little while.
Yeah.
And Kurt Cobain died, and rock kind of died with him for a while.
It's good to see that Metallica like kind of survived that thing.
Yeah.
They went through a rough patch, but in the end, they're still they're not doing as many concerts as many concerts that I wish they would do. I think they're touring, but North America, they do a lot of European tours, I think.
Yeah, I was talking to an Italian who's from Italy, who's a metalhead, one of Matthew's old childhood friends, and I'd met him once when we were kids, when his family came to visit, and he's still a metalhead, and we're talking about Metallica and stuff, and the stuff they listen to, and I'm like, how often does Metallica come to Italy? He's like, once a year.
Really?
I was like, that's pretty freaking good. Like, you get a chance to see Metallica every year, not necessarily in the same city, but if you don't mind driving a bit. Like, yeah, they're...
Metallica playing in Montreal was their only appearance in North America this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize that till he announced it at the show.
I'm like, fuck, man. Not even in the States. You don't even go in the States anymore. When's the last time Metallica played in the States?
Probably last year, I guess.
Yeah, but fuck, man. And it's probably at a festival.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of Latin countries.
Yeah.
I've seen them like in Brazil and
Brazil loves their metal, man.
like, fuck yeah. I didn't realize that Brazil was so many metal.
Did you ever
heads.
watch any of the Rock in Rio concerts, whether it was Metallica or Iron Maiden?
That's where I discovered them. I
Iron Maiden.
watch them on YouTube. They have these big fucking concerts and festivals. I keep listening to the music. I'm like, fuck, man. Every year they have a huge... It's good, though. Heavy Montreal is, how many years now?
I think it's been since 2008. And there was one year they didn't have it because pretty much all the bands that you'd want to see had already toured in Montreal that year anyway.
Okay.
Like, it was a good year for heavy metal fans, so they figured it wasn't really worth putting together the festival since most of those bands had already showed up within the last few months. But, I've been to a few. I've seen some great shows. I've seen some bad shows. I've seen shitty bands like Disturbed, which was awful.
Really?
I saw Kiss, and I still can't wipe the image of Gene Simmons licking his bass. It's just
They still go with the makeup?
Oh yeah. They put on a hell of a show as far as the theatrics and the stage, and the big Kiss lit up in back of them, and they had a giant speaker wall. I'm assuming half of them weren't even working. It was just for show, but literally like a wall of speakers. But
Marshall speaker, like the big Marshall.
Yeah, the Marshall stacks. Yeah. But otherwise, there's been other years where I wasn't so crazy about the lineups.
To be honest, I don't remember. I knew this wasn't their first year, but I can't remember a big band that came in the last.
Well, last year, was it the year before? Last year was Megadeth was the big act. I didn't go see that. I'm not a big Megadeth fan. Yeah. I hate the sound of Dave Mustaine's voice. He sounds like he's taking a shit all the time.
I think he tries to sound too much like sometimes like Metallica. He used to be part of their band, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I
they
find
kicked
that
them out, or as he says, he fired all of them.
Yeah. I was never
As he would
a
make you
fan of
believe.
Megadeth. I remember my uncle used to have these old tapes and albums, and he used to have a few Megadeth.
I like the old Megadeth up until about Countdown to Extinction. After that,
That's their biggest. That's probably their biggest album. Their most commercialized, marketed album.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that. Yeah, I mean, what's it called? Symphony of Destruction. That song was huge. That's an awesome song.
Do you remember Pantera?
Were
you a Pantera fan?
Yeah, I'm still a Pantera fan.
Fuck, I love
band.
their
I
songs.
regret never having been able to see them. Unfortunately,
they're not even together.
no, not anymore. That's why I missed the boat with that one. Well,
like-
Dimebag's dead, and without Dimebag, it's not the same.
Cowboys from Hell, was that their last big.
That was their first
album.
Well, first album with Phil Anselmo. They used to exist before that. They were like a glam metal band. If you look them up,
Really?
You can find a few of their
Glam
songs.
rock?
Like glam, yeah. Like you look at them, they look like Poison and Motley Crue with the teased hair and everything. And it was completely different. And then, Phil joined the band and they went with a different direction. They pretty much dismissed, like, those other albums don't exist, you know. Like nobody will ever tell you those albums were good. No Pantera fan, bro, man, they sold out when they went like southern blues metal. Like what happened to the glam? Nobody cares about those albums.
I like their sound. I like Walk. Walk is one of my favorite.
Walk's amazing song. But yeah, Vulgar Display of Power and Cowboys from Hell are two amazing albums. But I mean, Reinventing the Steel and I mean they're all good. Every album they did after, from that point on, there's not one bad. Great Southern Trendkill, another great album.
Yeah.
Just amazing
Their
stuff.
sound was different. And,
Yeah.
they just had something different about them. Same thing with Anthrax. I used to like Anthrax.
Anthrax. Well, I saw them as well, right? They were there
They
on
were here
Saturday.
yeah.
They were there on Saturday. It's the second time I get to see Anthrax. I've seen them before at Heavy Montreal. Love them. They put on a great show.
Yeah.
And then I saw bands like the Deftones and System of a Down a couple of years ago were the headliners. And it was like System of a Down. They hadn't played together in a while, so it was kind of like a reunion tour. I mean, not the best headliners for a heavy metal thing because they're not like metal.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, but
was everything
some
there?
Motorhead, random groups like that was cool.
Motorhead.
I saw Motorhead a few years ago.
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
Lemmy will die on stage. I'm pretty sure.
He's old.
He's old as fuck.
He came on. I saw a Metallica concert. I think was in Brazil or somewhere. And he came on stage and he sang a song with Metallica or some sort because he was there for the same festival.
Okay.
I think, and he just came on then and they wrote a song together and he played and it was pretty badass. There was a pretty badass song.
But Motorhead's another band where most of their songs sound the same.
Yeah.
Like Ace of Spades and Overkill are like the exact same song. Like you could sing Ace of Spades, Overkill.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same shit. You could just sing the lyrics over one or the other. It doesn't matter. It's the same goddamn song.
It's fucking hilarious. I remember they came when they used to do the Triple H song.
Oh, yeah.
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 And they came in and they played live one. I think it was
at WrestleMania, probably. They always bring out the bands for WrestleMania.
Yeah. Like I remember the song there. But
Time to play the game.
Yeah, that's it. And he played it live and it was all out of tune. I'm like, hey, you're fucking ruining it. Like, what the fuck, man?
He's cool,
it's not
though.
like an album there, you know?
When he walked out on stage when we saw him, he walks out and I think he had a beer in his hand and walks out with this big old school bass and he's like, hello, we're Motorhead and we play rock and roll. And then it just started. It was just 45 minutes like don.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he's cool. Like it's guys like that, like you want to be able to see, like Ozzy Osbourne. I'd love to still see him live too. Like I should have went and saw the Black Sabbath 3 reunion show last year, or was it this year? They came at the beginning of the year, or at the end of last year, but I don't know. For some reason, I skipped out on it.
There was a band that was there this year that wasn't metal. There was what's their name?
The Offspring was there.
Well, okay, that's not a metal band.
Oh God, people fucking they do the least inspired set I've ever seen from a band. I think it was paint by numbers. What they did was they played all of Smash because it was the 20th anniversary of the album. So they went through the whole album in order to start, and it's just there was nothing to it. They sounded okay, but it just felt like
no emotions.
It was like just going through the motions, and that's it.
What about that Irish band? What's that name?
Oh, Dropkick Murphys.
That's it.
Yeah. See, I didn't go see them. I went to see Protest the Hero playing at the same time on the smaller stage. So I went to see them instead.
Oh, so they have multiple stages.
Yeah, they've got the two main ones that goes showed band to band. Like one finishes, the next band starts like right away, which is cool. And then they had the two smaller stages hidden out in the trees and stuff. So I got to see a couple of smaller acts there. I saw those kids, those 3 New York kids, 3 black kids that you saw you must have seen online. 3 12, 13-year-old black brothers from New York. They have a heavy metal band. And they got big online. They got signed to like a $1 million contract by I forget who. And they were there. And it was pretty cool seeing them.
I don't no idea who you're talking about.
They're called Unlocking the Truth. You should check them out. I thought they were on one of those America's Got Talent or something, but it turns out they just went viral on their own. They would play, like they would set up and they would play outside on the streets and stuff, and they'd fucking rack in all kinds of cash from people, donating to them. And now they're gonna be millionaires soon.
Oh, they're young.
13.
They're a metal band.
They're a metal band.
They're black.
They're black. Guy's got a.
Oh.
He's got a. I like the sound he's got. Not the best singer in the world, but I like the sound they got.
I like that deep.
Yeah, very sludgy.
Wow, they're fucking young. What the hell?
Oh, they're talented musicians, man. They're gonna be big.
They were there this year.
Yeah, they play one of the smaller stages.
How many songs they have?
It's a 45-minute set, I think.
Is that every?
Pretty much everybody gets 45 minutes. The main acts get a bit longer. Metallica got like 2.5 hours to themselves.
Yeah, obviously. Damn. Jeez. That's awesome, though.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing that. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about heavy Montreal. I thought about, but wow, they're pretty badass. They seem to know what they're. 13 years old, man. I like that, man. I talked about this before the podcast, but I discovered this new guy. His name is Scroobius Pip, and I'll stay on the music. On the music top, because I've been having a hard time lately finding music that I could actually download and listen to without getting bored after like you listen to I get one song and then I'm like, oh, I like this song, and then go online and download the album.
Yeah.
And then I put the album and then I go to work and I listen to my album and I'm like, oh, it's all right. And the first time you listen, sometimes it's either the first time I listen to an album, I'm like, it sucks. I'm like, can't get into it. And I force myself to listen to it more, and then obviously I'm like, okay, I like this song, I like this song, I like this song. Mm-hmm. This sucks. This. So after like 3-4 times, I just keep. But sometimes I find an album, I'm like, this is awesome, and I'll just listen to the album over and over and over and over again. But I've been having a hard time because let's face it, like there's a lot of music out there. There's a lot of people, especially with nowadays. It's so easy to just put your music out there. You don't need a
Nobody
label.
needs an actual physical album or a label. That's right. You just fucking cut your album, put it on YouTube, put it on iTunes afterwards.
Like me and you could drop okay, you're gonna make the music, I'm gonna sing, and we do something. I record it with a camera, and then we put it online.
Yeah.
I put it on YouTube for free.
Yep.
That's it. I'm not making any money, but I'm putting my name out there.
Yeah.
And so every time I hear something different, that it's not like the same thing over, because there's, like you said earlier, it's pop. Everything is pop nowadays. When's the last time I heard a good rap album? I'm like, Kendrick Lamar was probably
Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q come to mind. The last two that were really good.
Let's face it. Like, how long do their rise to the top last? To think about it, you know, every week there's somebody else new comes out that sucks, but just takes it over because the radio play. They didn't get no radio play. Schoolboy Q probably got close to zero.
I was surprised though. I walked into an HMV and they were promoting his album before it came out. They had like the posters up and stuff, and I was like, "Fuck, people even know who this guy is." But Danny Brown, I've mentioned him a lot. I
had his
Danny
album.
Brown.
I downloaded his album,
and he was at Osheaga, and I did not realize how many people know who the fuck he is.
Yeah,
like the crowd was jumping, man.
Really?
I regret missing out on that show. My buddy told me, yeah, man, he had the crowd eating out of his fucking hands. So, you know, good for people with good taste.
He's from Detroit.
He's from Detroit, yeah. And I mean, he's totally unique as far as I'm concerned. When you compare him to other rappers, I mean, he's on his own.
But when he talks, he was on an episode of this Vice show that I called Off the Boat with Eddie Wong. You know who Eddie Wong is?
No.
He has this show on Vice. He's like a cook. He owns a restaurant in New York.
Okay.
But he has this show called Vice Off the Boat, Fresh Off the Boat with Eddie Wong. And he visits these different cities around the world. It's like either a 2 or 3 part YouTube clip, about 15 minutes each.
Okay.
And he went to Mongolia, he went to Hong Kong. He goes a lot to Thailand because he's from there. And he lives in New York. He has a restaurant in New York. He'll go all over the place. And the show is about the culture of food and the food and the culture of people and how it's related, like how people relate to the food culture around the world and what they eat and how they communicate with each other and stuff, mostly through food. And for some reason, he had an episode about Detroit, and they'll visit, like, you know, mom and pop, like fried chicken place or something like that. It sounded totally racist when I said it. So after I said it, because I said fried chicken. But So yeah, he's on one of the episodes, and I'm like, oh, that's Danny Brown. I'm like, oh my god, he's totally unique. Like he's like the way he talks and stuff. But anyway, this guy, Scroobius Pip, is he's a UK boy, and like I said before to my listeners, I was playing to people that don't know who he is. I never heard of him. I heard about him last week, and then I started listening to his music, and I'm like, oh, this is different because it's they call it, I guess, spoken word, which is basically he calls himself like a poet, and then he was in a band with him and another guy. The other guy did the music. It was more like a hip hop thing.
Oh, he's a white dude.
He's a white dude, yeah, with a beard.
With a beard. Speaking of which, you didn't mention you got no more beard.
Yeah, sorry to my viewers that are
beard's
watching this
gone.
on YouTube right now.
And it's on this dude's face now, apparently.
281 days it lasted.
Fuck. What finally inspired you to shave it?
I was coming back from vacation. I was going back to work on the Monday, and on Sunday, I was like, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower. I got up from the living room. I walked over to the shower, and I looked at myself like, oh, let me see if I can trim it a little bit. And I tried trimming it, and then I'm like, this is too much work trimming it. And then I just took one swipe at it.
It just went
right in the middle.
Right
here, right in the middle. And I'm like, oh my God. It looked like I had no face. My beard was so thick. No so long, man. And I just shaved it all off. It took me like at least almost a week to like get used to my face.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I have a chin. Like there's no chin here. Like I can't. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, he's a white dude, and it's weird because when he talks, he has a stutter. Okay. He stutters a little bit, but when he raps, he doesn't stutter. But he doesn't really rap. I'll give you a one of his songs that I like here. I'll give you an introduction to him. The song's called Introdiction. I hope we don't get pulled from YouTube.
I saw a dead fish on the pavement and thought, what did you expect? There's no water around
this.
Really
stupid British.
Should have stayed where it was wet. Hello, my name is Pip, and I would like to speak some lyrics into this microphone that's amplified so you can hear it. This piece of diction is the intro to distraction pieces. That's all the shit that flies around my head and keeps me sleepless. Such little food for thought, my fucking brain feels anorexic. So many typos when I write, I'll claim I'm dyslexic. I've got your poem here, I've put it in this
It's not bad. I like it because it's different to everything I've heard.
Most people where I live don't know me, and I fucking like it. Some people where I live don't like me, and I fucking know it. Some heads won't know my name or give me a look, since I flow kinda strange, like spine a bit for the footprints.
He shaves his head and he cuts his beard in this. He did it in one take.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he did the video in one take. In this like container, they rented this container apparently from one of his friends. He's like, I'm gonna rent your container, but I can't tell you what I'm doing. He's like, yeah, no problem. So they filmed it, and because he cuts his beard and his hair, he's like, we got to do this in one take. Plus, he burns a bunch of shit in the back. Yeah, it's pretty. When you check it out, it's he flows really well. Not all the songs. Anyway,
he's still kind of rapping though.
He's
still
rapping,
got some rhythm to
it. He rhymes.
Yeah,
it's not just. That's why he calls it like a poet. He rhymes, but then he kind of just talks, and then somebody.
Well, it kind of makes me think of you ever listen to The Streets back in the day? Another British artist, and a lot of his tracks are a lot of spoken word rap style as well.
The Streets?
The Streets, yeah. It's one dude, but his name is The Streets, so it's a little confusing because everyone thought they were a band, but just one dude, and he I think he stopped. I think he stopped recording stuff under that name. The last album wasn't very good.
Out, yeah.
But the old stuff is pretty cool. But yeah, he's got a couple of those songs, and he mixes in. He's got some different vibes to his songs. It's not straight up hip hop, you know. Some of the stuff's a little different. Got a little bit more of maybe a dancey electronica vibe to it.
This guy too is same thing. Like he'll break off. There's one song. It's totally electronic music because the guy he used to be with, I think, was like they'll do that. You know that board with the squares.
Yeah, the drum pad.
Yeah, that thing. Type of music, and then he jumps in, and so
because I see he's got a duo with a guy named Dan Lassac.
He used to do all this music with him, and then his last album was
also now he's by himself.
So anybody, if anybody's looking for a different type of music and you're into hip hop or whatever, check this guy out. Scroobius Pip. That's Scroobius. Second word PIP. Scroobius.
33 years of age.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, and he was pretty interesting on the. Like I said, I listened to him on a podcast, and he's smart dude,
Smart guy, yeah.
very smart, educated, and he knows what's going on in the world, the political and everything. So I like to see that. I like to see, and that's most of the artists nowadays. If you listen to somebody, musicians, actors, maybe actors a little less, but a lot of musicians are like fucking some of the smartest people you'll talk to. And you have to be educated if you're going to sing these days, because your songs have to relate to what's going on in the world. That's I think a very important thing. And that's why I said earlier when I said Metallica were ahead of their days, because if they came out today with the And Justice for All album, nobody heard of them, it would probably be a #1 hit on Billboard, because the things they sing about is exactly how people feel nowadays.
Yeah, man, exactly.
It's like, what the fuck?
And more and more people now have the option to voice their opinion about stuff like that too, so it relates to a lot more people. And
how easy it is nowadays to, if you have something to say, all you need is a phone. You can record yourself. You can post it on YouTube for free.
We're
doing it right now.
Here. We're doing it right here, exactly.
Like, fuck, man. Like, if you feel like you have something to say and you want the world to know, you can post it. Doesn't matter if there's only 5 people listen to it. I'd say not 10 years ago, but 15 years ago, that wasn't possible.
No, even 10 years ago, not to the same extent.
Was YouTube around 10 years ago?
Let's see when YouTube started.
10 years ago. We're talking 2004, man. I don't remember.
I don't think so. I don't remember there being a YouTube when I was... no, actually, yeah, because I remember getting my first computer. Was I downloading stuff? All right, here you go. Yeah, it was created in 2005, and it's been owned by Google since 2006. So, yeah, not even 10 years.
I moved to Toronto in 2000 and... Oh, shit.
Like, yeah, because I used to have to... Yes.
2005.
Because I got my first computer when I was about 20, so that's, about 13, 14 years ago. And I when I was cleaning out my shit and moving to my new apartment, I realized I still had all these old CDs of, like, music videos that I was downloading. And now it's like, why would I have ever done that? Like, why do I need like little concert clips and stuff?
That's right.
But it's because there was no YouTube. Now you just YouTube all that shit.
I'm trying to think of when I started using YouTube. And I remember when I started using YouTube. I don't remember when it was, but I remember saying to myself, this thing is YouTube. It's okay. I can go and see videos and stuff, but I didn't really get the correlation that anybody could just load videos on YouTube. I think because I didn't get that distinction, I'm like, this thing's not gonna last. And then I remember when they got bought out by, is it Google that bought them? And I'm like, oh shit, this thing good now. YouTube is gonna fucking
excuse me,
bless you, because I remember Google becoming like instant. Google, there was like, oh, Google exists. I'm like, oh, this is the best search engine ever. I remember the first time I used Google, I'm like, I don't know why, but this is just awesome.
Yeah. What did we use before Google? When we had Alta Vista?
The first search engine that I ever used was Alta Vista.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
1994, 95, when we started using the internet at my buddy's place. My buddy Fred got the internet. He was the first guy in the neighborhood to get it. And I remember going to his house and we used to use Alta Vista. And then it was Yahoo.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I just realized, it was purchased by Yahoo in 2003. Alta Vista still existed up till July 8th, 2013, when they finally got shut down. And then if you tried to click the domain name, it took you back to, it would redirect you to Yahoo's search engine.
So Yahoo bought Alta Vista?
And apparently people were still using it up until 2013, amazingly.
I just remember being yellow back in the day. I just remember Alta Vista.
Oh man!
But what else was there? I remember Alta Vista, then Yahoo. I think I used Yahoo and then Google.
There must have been another one in between, though. I would think. So let's see if I can find here. I'm searching on Wikipedia. Another thing that didn't exist before. Magellan. Remember Magellan?
Are you Magellan? I'm Magellan. No.
Magellan. I remember Magellan. That's probably the other one.
1990, the Archive, Query Forum, and then
Web Crawler was the first.
93, Info, Alta Vista, 94. Okay, I have a website here called WordStream, History of Search. It started in 1990 with something called Archive, without a V, so it's Archie. Sorry, so it's Archie. And then it went to Veronica and Jughead. That's what it says here.
Why are you
So it's
reading
called-
Veronica and Jughead?
That's the name of the search engine.
They called what? They named them after Archie characters.
The first one was called Archie. It was 1990, first search engine.
Huh.
And then in 1991, there was one called Veronica. No, that can't be right. And then there was a VLib in 92. Then in 93, there was Excite. And then in June 93, they called something called World Wide Web Wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
Then AliWeb in 93. Then Primitive Web Search and also in December 93. And then InfoSeek in January 94. Then Alta Vista in 94, also January.
Mm-hmm.
Then Galaxy. ENET Galaxy.
Fuck, I don't,
Web Crawler
Didn't realize
in
all these existed.
94. Yahoo in April 94. So Yahoo was in 94. Now, Yahoo was probably the first big one after Alta Vista.
That was Ask Jeeves. Remember Ask Jeeves?
I remember that, yeah. Then there was Lycos as well.
Yeah, Lycos rings a bell.
Look Smart in 95. And 96 was Google. 96 Google. Damn. Then there was Hotbot. You remember Hotbot?
That sounds familiar too.
I remember. Then there was Ask.com, which was Ask Jeeves. Then it got to Ask.com.
Yeah, that's right.
That was in 97. 98 was MSN. They came up with the MSN, I guess, had a search engine. I don't remember that. You get Overture, then all the web, I don't know, Snap, so Bing in 2009.
Bing fucking sucks. Who uses Bing?
I don't know, man.
I've tried to use it,
It's
and it was like the
horrible.
default browser in my computer at work for a point.
Yeah.
And fuck, it sucks. Like, you do not get the same results.
Not
searching
even
with
close.
Bing. Not even close.
I mean, a
don't- but what's the
comparison one.
point? What's the point of creating these other? I was gonna mention you started naming all these search engines that have existed, and who the fuck was using them? Because God knows we don't even remember half of the names. But these days, why would anybody even bother trying to compete with Google? What's the point?
Exactly. Like, you want to make money? Like, I'm going to start my own search engine. Like, no, you're not.
Figure something else out, dude.
Fucking Google is going to
Google's-
run the world in 5 years, right?
Google owns the internet right now.
They're in YouTube. They're in everything. They're related to everything.
Yeah.
They see the future. They
I
know
don't
what I
know.
want to search for.
If you use Bing, please send us a tweet. We'd like to know if there's anybody actually using it out there.
Please give us your comment on why Bing is better than Google.
Yes, and we want to know why you use Bing.
So, listeners, go ahead. Please tweet, Facebook, everything. I want to know. Emails. Why is Bing better than Google? That should be the question.
You're lying in your answer.
You're
by the
probably
way, people.
lying.
You're lying. We will discredit whatever you say, but we still want to hear it.
Yeah, man. Search engines crazy. Now it's Google all the way. What's the percentage of people using Google?
I don't know. Let's see. We think they have those stats online.
I'd say 92%.
I heard
No,
it.
not that high.
Speaking of percentages in the internet, I heard this great stand-up joke the other day was there was a survey taken, and 90% of men admit to viewing porn on the internet.
That's it?
And, well, the joke was, that's amazing that 10% of men still don't have access to the internet.
That's probably the only reason. What's the internet? Well, the 10% are we call them Amish. That's
Yeah, that's
probably
it.
what
That's
is.
it. Or liars. 5% are Amish, 5% are lying.
Yeah.
Percentage of Google users. Let's see.
I say 78%.
Oh, that's true. You got Chrome too, right? Well, no, Google. What's Chrome again?
Chrome is a web browser.
That's a web browser.
It's owned by Google.
It's owned by Google. So what's the difference between Google and Chrome?
Chrome is not a web browser.
It's not a web browser?
It is a web browser. Google is not a web browser. It's a search engine. Chrome is like it's like Safari.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
It's like internet. Remember Internet Explorer?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And that's I was trying to remember. Yeah, what was the other one when we brought up Alta Vista? And Internet Explorer. Oh fuck, people still
That
use
still
that too.
exists. I use that at work.
Yeah, people still use that. 70% of consumers use Google.
70%.
Some here 74, some 67. I'm surprised not
30%.
more. Oh, here you go. This is a survey done a couple of years ago. This is pretty Let's see. Google search market share drops as Bing passes 17%. And this was written May 2013. So Google, Bing, and then Yahoo.
Okay, let's do a comparison. I'm on Bing right now. Go on Google.
Yeah.
Let's search for the same thing and see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
It's the Google versus Bing challenge.
All right. So let's type in Ferguson. See what happens.
Oops.
Before you even click enter, what's the first thing you get as a, you know how they give you choices?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me get on Bing here. There we go.
No, I'm on Bing. You go on Google.
Oh, you're doing
Yeah,
Bing.
yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Okay, Google. All right, Ferguson.
What's the first option they give you?
With the drop down
Yeah.
there, I get Ferguson, Missouri, Ferguson Police, Ferguson Forest Center.
Right there already. I get Ferguson Funeral Home. That's the first
Are you
option it gives
serious?
me. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And I hit enter. And I get all that. I get the sponsored ones on top, which is Shop Ferguson Online. So Ferguson.com. Obviously makes sense. Okay, makes sense. Then I get news about Ferguson. Michael Brown shooting. Okay. It looks... You know what shocks me right now about Bing is that if I don't look, it looks exactly like Google.
Does it?
Look.
They changed the look of it?
Look at this.
Shit, that does look like Google now.
It's probably... Google's probably hacked into the system like, fuck this. And I get... And if I go images, all I get is pictures of Manchester United, their ex-coach, their Sir something.
Yeah, there he is, yeah.
That's all the pictures I get. I get Ferguson SFA Funeral Home. That's also
I got
top
Ferguson
search.
Plumbing and Builder Products. And Alex Ferguson. Oh, he's the coach. There you go.
Yeah.
And if I click images, let's see. I still get a lot of coaches with Google, though, too.
Yeah, I get a coach. How about videos?
Videos, I
I
get
get Craig Ferguson.
The Roots of Unrest in Ferguson explained in 2 minutes is the first video that pops up.
Damn.
So
guess
I guess
it's not that
Google's a little bit better with finding like what's trending and is
Yeah.
able to pick it up, like assuming that that's what you're looking for.
The
Yeah.
algorithms they use are, I think, a bit better.
Yeah.
How many results did you get?
For Ferguson, for just the web or video? Here, web, I got 84,400,000 results.
So I got 40 million results.
Wow.
40,400,000. So half the results.
So there you go. You don't even have to answer as people. We know Google's better.
Lugal. Do you remember?
Lugal.
We watched it last night. Hot Tub Time Machine. Did you see that movie? And the guy at the end, he invents Lugal instead of Google because his name is Lou.
Yes.
And the guy when they come back, the guy's like, "Here's your Lugal maps." He's like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" He's like, "Lugal maps." Don't you mean Google Maps? The guy's like, "What's Google?" So if you want to go online and search for like a restaurant, you use Lugal. Yeah, that's right. I'm like, oh, it's so funny. I don't know why. Every time that movie comes on, I'm like, this is the best movie.
Man, I've seen a lot of movies lately, actually.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
I got to see, I saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
How was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like a Transformers movie as far as the action scenes were concerned.
But more
Just
importantly, how hot is Megan Fox in the movie?
I'm not a huge
Yeah,
Megan
Megan
Fox
Fox
fan, to be honest. I'm an Olivia Wilde man.
Oh my God. High five, motherfucker.
That is
she
who
is
I
my
want.
number one on my list
That's
right now.
who because I remember the two of them were kind of looked alike a bit at the beginning
Olivia
when they both like
Wilde
broke out.
is
But for me,
hot
it was Olivia
as
Wilde from day one.
Fuck.
Love her.
My number one was always Kate Beckinsale.
Ah,
For the longest fucking time.
love her too.
She have a British accent. She's hot as fuck. But Olivia Wilde in the last little bit has jumped into my number one. Kate Beckinsale is my number two.
Plus, when you look at the relationships, Megan Fox is with that dude from 90210, Brian Austin Green.
That's right.
And who's Olivia Wilde with? Funny man Jason Sudeikis. Like,
And she's pregnant.
she's pregnant with
gave
this baby.
birth. She gave birth.
Oh, she
I
gave
think,
birth.
already.
So props.
Maybe I'm
She gets
wrong, but
extra
she's
points
definitely
for going after not necessarily a stud or not a rock star rebel. No, a funny dude.
Very funny dude.
So yeah, but I saw that. I saw the new Planet of the Apes was fucking awesome.
How was that? That I want to
Awesome.
see.
That is amazing. Saw the new Godzilla. Also liked it a lot. I saw what else did I see recently?
Do you know what you shouldn't see? It's 22 Jump Street. That's what
I watched.
shouldn't see.
You didn't like it?
I watched the first one,
Yeah.
which I liked.
I love the first
and then
one.
on Friday, I watched the second one, and I did not like it.
Really? I liked it a lot, actually.
Really?
I love the fact that they kept making fun of the first movie and what they're
That
doing.
I liked,
I love
the
that. I love
beginning.
that fact that it was like winking at you the whole time.
The
you know?
beginning was good. Like it made reference to the first one, and then it made fun about the.
We're gonna do everything exactly the fucking same.
But then after a while, you know what though? I was high as fuck on Friday, and I think that might have been a factor. Every time I watch a movie when I'm high,
Yeah.
the bullshit acting just rises to the top for me. I don't enjoy movies. I don't know why I smoke up before I watch a movie.
I don't know. For me, it makes bad movies good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just smell that bullshit acting and all the the plot. I'm like, that makes no sense. Maybe it does make sense. Maybe it's me that just it doesn't work. But anyway, I was a bit disappointed. I haven't seen a lot of movies lately, so
Captain America 2 also really good, much better than the first one.
really,
Yeah, and George St. Pierre's in it for a bit.
how big is his role? Is
Not
it
much. He's like the opening fight scene.
Oh, it's the opening scene.
Yeah, like they're trying to retrieve hostages that are being held captive on like a ship, and
So
George is the captain of the leader of the squad, the enemy squad, and he gets to fight with him, but he doesn't get many shots in. Like Captain America basically knocks him out pretty easily.
Really?
Yeah.
But you don't see him for the rest of the movie.
No,
after.
they mention him a couple of times, but you never see him again. He's got a couple of lines. He says them in French. And he's supposed to be a French from France character, but he just uses his regular Quebec accent.
Character, yeah.
He just goes, said something about le bouclier. Said something about je pensais que t'étais plus que juste un bouclier. So then he takes off his, because Captain America understands French apparently.
Yeah.
And he takes off his shield, and then they fight hand to hand, and didn't last very long. And he just tackles him, boom, gives him one shot.
Let's face it, if it was real life, George St. Pierre would have whipped his ass.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see George in a role there. Hopefully get some more. What else did I see? I saw Draft Day, the football one with Kevin Costner. That I kind of liked. A little cliche, a little cheesy, but it was good. I saw a great movie that you probably haven't heard of called Cold in July. It stars Michael C. Hall from Dexter, and along with Don Johnson, who plays a pretty good character, cool character. That's a good one. It's about revenge after a guy gets shot for breaking and entering. And it kind of, the story just takes a different turn midpoint, and it's really different. What else did I see? I saw Bad Neighbors, the one with Seth Rogen. That was pretty funny.
I heard that was pretty funny.
That's worth
that's the
checking
next
out.
one I have to see, I think.
And I think those are the ones I've seen lately.
But Planet of the Apes, though, it's pretty bad. That's the one
Yeah. I love the first one. I love the second one. Like I hope they keep making these movies.
Yeah.
It inspired me actually to rewatch the original Planet of the Apes
I've
with
never
Charlton
watched the
Heston.
original, yeah.
You know, I've watched a lot of Charlton Heston's movies from like back then, like the old B sci-fi movies like the Omega Man and Soylent Green. He's such a horrible actor.
Yeah,
like
he's a pretty bad
he
actor.
hams it up in every scene. I can't understand how people held him in such high regard. Like he's shit.
People, yeah.
He sounds so phony. He looks like he's acting, you know. Nothing looks natural.
No.
Nothing comes out of his mouth sounding natural, you know. But yeah, and then even with the Ninja Turtles, it inspired me to rewatch the original as well.
I remember the original. There was a two?
There was three even, which I never. The third one when they went back in time to like ancient Japan or something. But I never bothered watching that one. And the second one had Vanilla Ice in it, which when I was a kid was really cool.
I remember he dances.
Go ninja, go ninja, go.
Do they make fun of the? Did they make any relation? What's the new one? Is it like start fresh from the beginning? The storyline is.
Yeah, they changed it a bit. They now, basically the movie starts with Splinter narrating.
Spoiler alert.
Well, this is just the opening. I won't. Yeah, but I mean, it's just the opening. If you're curious to see how the movie starts, it's basically they do like the cartoon comics images while they're doing the credits.
Okay.
So they're kind of showing you the back history of. So when the movie starts, like the turtles already exist. Well, like the original one. Like and it's just
you don't
gives
see
you
the story.
he gives you the backstory when he explains to April
That's
O'Neil
right.
how they
That's
came
right.
to be. So yeah, or a little spoiler alert is that April O'Neil has a history with the Ninja Turtles and she didn't realize it. That basically her dad worked in a laboratory that was doing tests, you know, biochemistry and playing with DNA and stuff like that, and testing it on animals. And they happened to test it on the turtles and a rat, which was named Splinter. And when she was a kid, she used to like go to her dad's laboratory. And then she realizes years later when she hears their names that, oh, fuck, you guys are the 4 turtles that used to be in my dad's lab. So there's the history between
So
the
that's
two.
how they become mutated?
Yeah, it's something called mutagen. It's like some sort of substance. They called it the ooze, remember?
The ooze, yeah.
So that's like the substance that turned them into what they are. And essentially, the bad guy, other than Shredder, is the boss at that laboratory.
And is Shredder in this one, if I'm not mistaken, he's not human, right?
He is. That's what confused me, because they were talking that
I thought he was like a robot.
white dude, this character named Eric Sachs, and they kept saying that he was going to be Shredder. It was going to be a white dude, the businessman, the evil fucking head of the company that wants to basically poison everybody, and then he's going to come up with the antidote and save the city. Is basically the whole storyline. And so they kept saying he was going to be Shredder, and it turns out he's not. It's a Japanese guy, but apparently that was thrown together at the end because there was so much backlash from the fans who said you can't have some white dude be Shredder. Like, Shredder's got to be, what's his name, Oroku Saki or something like that, because the character's name is Eric Sachs. You're like, that sounds like Oroku Saki. So I'm sure that's what they were aiming for, and then they changed things around at the last minute, because Shredder kind of feels a little tacked on to the movie, but he looks fucking cool. And he still has the big battle at the end on the rooftop, as you would expect. Well, that's cool. Okay. I mean, the characters are all right as far as, the look. I like the way they looked. They still gave them their personalities. Raphael's still the prick, and Donatello's still the nerd. He actually wears glasses.
Yeah,
Donatello.
I saw that, yeah.
Michelangelo's still pretty funny. And Leo was voiced by Johnny Knoxville, another last-minute replacement.
Wow.
Because the guys in this that wore, like, the CGI suits or whatever,
right, yeah. They
actually voiced him, too. But Johnny, the guy who played Leonardo, they replaced his voice at the last second. Johnny Knoxville came in to record the voices over his acting. He's the only one that happened to. And that in Splinter, I think that happened too. It was originally supposed to be, remember the Mickey from Kramer's midget friend from Seinfeld?
Yes.
That actor? Yeah. You've seen him in other roles too.
Yes,
He's in the Splinter suit.
The guy with the beard there, right?
Yeah. And he's in the Splinter suit, but they end up replacing his voice with Tony Shalhoub. Remember the guy who used to be on Wayne's, who was on Monk?
The Monk. The guy from Men in Black there.
Yes. Yeah. He was in Men in Black as well, yeah.
1 and 2, I think.
Yeah, he was one of the aliens.
He sells the pawn shop. The pawn shop. He gets shot right in the pie hole.
Yeah.
Oh, right in the pie hole. And his head blows up and then he regenerates again.
So that's whatever. I mean, if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, it brings you back some memories.
I was when I was a kid. I used to.
It's just the action scenes. It wasn't directed by Michael Bay, but it's got his stink all over it.
Really?
Yeah, like he hired his protege to make this movie. Yeah, he oversaw everything. I'm sure.
Because he made the first ones, no?
No. He basically when he announced that he was taking over the franchise, people were flipping out because he's already ruined Transformers.
Yeah.
For all of us. I don't know if he was involved with the G.I. Joe movies, but those were fucking horrible too. So everybody kept saying, like, stop shitting on her childhood, like, stop ruining all their memories with bastardizing these characters and movies that we loved.
He made I heard the rumor last week that they're making a Bad Boys 3, I think.
I saw that the other day online as well. They're making a third one. I don't know if that's really necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked the second one. The second one was all right.
I always thought they were enjoyable. I always crack up though when they're just driving through all the huts when they're in like Cuba or wherever, and they're just going down the hill, just driving through everybody's homes. Like, fuck you, poor people. We don't care. This is cool to see.
Fucking Humvee.
Yeah, I go with the Humvee. And they're just driving through everybody's homes. Thanks for killing our shanty town. Like, if our lives weren't shitty enough as they were.
I live in Cuba, motherfucker.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. I check it out. I really want to check out Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes and Godzilla, I think, were my two favorite, though, out of like the action movies that I've seen lately. Like, Godzilla is really cool. Like, there's a lot of build before you actually see him, and there's other monsters in the movie.
Apparently, that's what I heard.
I had no idea. And then the first monster, I'm like, that doesn't look like Godzilla. What is this? And then you realize they're going to be introducing all of them throughout the series. You're going to see Mothra and Godan and all those fucking characters that used to be in the old ones. So that's pretty cool. So hopefully this will spawn a franchise. So we'll get a series and we'll get to see him fucking battle Mothra or something next time around.
That's cool. Planet of the Apes, I think, is... I hope they keep going. I don't know if they
got to. I think the next one's got to be
like back to the first one.
The apes have taken over officially, because this one is like the transition.
Yeah,
it's like in the years following all the humans dying because of the disease, the infection, the virus that was leaked at the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And so now it reaches the point where the monkeys don't know if there's any humans left, and then they end up meeting humans, and then it kind of felt like The Walking Dead. You know, when you have like different groups like meet each other and they're trying to like coexist, but it just
Didn't work out.
doesn't work out so well.
Well,
No.
one is vindictive, I think, from what I saw in the preview, one of the characters, and then one is trying to help them, and it's not working.
Yeah, there's kind of like a conflict of interest as well, and no, it's cool. I really liked it.
Oh, I'll
Very well
check it
made.
out. What's the other comedy you said you checked out?
Which Bad Neighbors?
Bad Neighbors. That
One I liked.
too.
I liked. Seth Rogen was good. And did I talk about Bad Words last time with Jason Bateman? You definitely have to check that one out.
Oh no!
Where he
but
plays,
I wanted,
he's an adult spelling bee competitor?
I've seen the previews.
Oh,
I'm like, I
fuck,
have
I've-
to see
I've
them.
watched it 3 times,
Jesus,
I
I'm gonna
think.
write these down because I'm gonna fucking forget every time. We're like, oh, what movies can we watch?
But yeah, Bad Words I thought was really funny. My brother wasn't so impressed with it, but maybe because I overhyped it for him. But
I love Jason Bateman.
his character's hilarious. He's got some great lines.
And Neighbors. I think I tried downloading Neighbors and it didn't really work out for me.
And I saw Need for Speed starring Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I like car movies and stuff, but it was a little ridiculous.
I mean,
But the
it's
action
based
scenes
off
were
of-
really cool.
Comic, video game.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I thought it was just a name essentially.
Yeah,
but
it's the franchise.
they just bought the
basically.
rights. Yeah, basically. But not the best. But it was all right. I watch anything. That's what my brother was saying. He's like, Jesus Christ, you really do watch a lot of movies, and you watch anything, don't you? I'm like, yep.
It's good to watch a bit of everything.
That's why I don't watch TV. That's why I said that's why I told you I don't need fucking cable, dude. I just sit on my computer and I'll watch like 3 movies in a night while I sit on my balcony. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that's fine.
I don't have time, man. I've been spending so much time in the gym and everything lately. It's like just the weekends, you know. It's like, oh, we do Saturday, and then we'll watch a movie, and then we get dinner ready, and by the time we put the kids to bed, it's like fucking 10, and I'm like, it's too late, like, you know, because I can't go to bed at 2 because then I have to get up at, you know, at 7 or 8, and then the next morning it's like, fuck. So, you know. It's like rock,
Our
paper,
bodies
scissors
aren't
in the
built for
morning.
that anymore. We can't survive on 4 or 5
I
hours
slept till
sleep.
9 today. That was a bonus for me. My son was up since 7:30 watching TV by himself. He's at that age.
Well, that's
where
it now.
like,
You can let him be. in the
like, yeah,
morning.
just go watch TV.
But he can make his own bowl of cereal and he's good
Almost,
to go.
yeah.
Almost.
He
No.
grabs a banana and he's like, oh, I need a banana. I'm like, eat a banana. My daughter woke up. I went back. I put the pacifier in her mouth. She fell back asleep. She woke up at like 8:45.
Oh, well.
I woke up this morning. I was all alone in my bed. I'm like, what the fuck? Where's everybody? I'm like 6:30. Nobody's in bed with me. I'm like, where's everybody? Apparently, my son came to bed with us last night. My girlfriend left because there was not enough space in bed, so she goes to sleep in his bed. Then when he notices that she's gone, he goes back to in his bed with her. So then I'm like, I wake up. I'm like, where's everybody? I know nobody's up. And then all of a sudden, I hear my son's in the living room. Like, I'm watching TV. I'm like, oh, it's all good. It's all good. Let me sleep. So I slept in. I was like, fuck, man. Because I went to bed at 2. I watched the UFC last night. There was a UFC on last night.
You know, I'm lucky. I was ready to put down some money on OSP, and I was convinced he was going to beat Bader. That's a good thing I didn't do that.
Well, I noticed something last night, and I think it comes back to my same point earlier that when I watch a movie high, I see all these things. Last night, I got baked out of my mind, and I ended up watching... I caught the co-main event as Gray Maynard just got knocked out again by Ross Pearson.
Yeah.
And so I watched the main event only. And wow. Bader is number 8 and OSP was ranked number 10.
Oh, yeah? They had him in the top 10?
I think, yeah, top 10, yeah. No, man.
No.
Oh, my God. If you look at John Jones and Machida and the top guys at like 185 and 205, and then you look at like Ryan Bader. OSP, I'll be honest, I knew who he was for a long time, even back in Strikeforce. I'd seen him, but I never really watched a full fight of his. And I watched him last night, and he looks athletic, and he's big, and he's strong, and he can, but technically he's not there. His striking, I know it. I think he's a wrestler.
But he was getting taken down. He get taken down 9 times,
Bader,
I heard.
man. Bader is a strong wrestler.
Yeah.
But even though he did take him down 9 times, he was like 50%, I think, last night, more or less.
Okay.
He did a lot of at the beginning of the fight, he got OSP down 4 for 4, I think. Then he missed the next 4. He went 4 for 8 or something like that. The striking just on a whole other level, and I don't mean good. I mean on a bad side.
Really?
Like Bader and OSP, if you just take the striking aspect of their game, holy fuck, they suck. I'm sorry, but I was watching them, and OSP is a lefty, so I'm a lefty, so I knew the game plan. For Ryan Bader, you got to keep your foot on the outside, and you got to circle to the right-hand side so they keep away from the power. So all he kept doing was circling. I mean, although that's what you're told to do, I mean, you have to get inside at a certain point. And he did get inside. He did get some takedowns, but no jabs, no combination. OSP would come in one and done, basically. Land one, come outside. Like, man, you got to put some combinations together.
Yeah.
There's nobody in UFC that has a black belt in striking. I can't think of anybody. Although there's some really, really good strikers, if you compared them to the most mediocre boxers, if you were to box, there's nobody I don't think in MMA right now that could probably win against a top.
Like if it was just a straight up boxing match, you mean? Yeah. Which is what you think? Is that what we're gonna see when we see Diaz fight Anderson Silva? You think they're gonna box with each other for most?
Yes.
They're going to keep it standing and just try to trade punches?
Most probably, Diaz is going to be... Anderson is just going to be happy to strike with Diaz.
I guess he'll be relieved not to worry about a takedown in this one, eh?
I don't think Anderson is going to be taking down Diaz. And I can't see... When's the last time I saw Diaz trying to take somebody down? Like, he does sometimes, but he'll... gladly strike with you and just stay in the pocket and just bring it
away.
on. So as much as they want to call, I find it ridiculous they're calling this a super fight. It's not a super fight.
It was maybe 3 years ago,
Maybe.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, not anymore. No.
Diaz is on he's lost against his last fight against GSP. No,
has he not fought since? I'd have to look. It's been a while since he fought. I mean, with the whole contract debate. His brothers fought definitely more recently.
Yeah, but his brother's an idiot, though.
Yeah, well, they're both idiots. That's another story.
He won Nate Diaz in his last fight, and no, he lost against Josh Thompson. Nate, I think Nate lost. Yeah, I thought he might have won. Yeah. Oh no, he lost.
He hasn't fought since March against GSP, right?
And he lost to Condit the fight before.
Yeah.
Now he's fighting a three fight contract. And he's fighting Anderson Silva that's coming back from an injury.
Dude, and he'll be almost 2 years from his last fight by the time they fight in January of next year.
That's pretty bad.
That's a long layoff.
And he's probably not been training that much. I don't want to be I'm sure he's been in the gym, but I'm sure like all around training.
More smoking on the couch, eating chips and cookies.
Running marathons and triathlons and stuff like that. But although it's an interesting fight and I'll watch it, I don't think it's a super fight like people that were labeling it when it was first announced. And I think it was a bit ridiculous.
Dude, it's a mess now. I mean, we got the Cormier fucking Jones fight got scrapped due to another fucking injury.
I want to talk on the Cormier and the thing, but first I have to go pee. So you're on your own there for a little bit.
All right. Nah, we've said this a million times as far as the cards are just... there's too many of them. There's too many fights that nobody cares about. And then when you do get a great matchup, you've got to worry about it getting canceled due to an injury, which seems to happen every other pay-per-view now. And, of course, the cards aren't strong enough to hold up on their own. We've seen a second UFC event get canceled in, as many as 2 years? We've seen 2 cancellations, if not in a lesser span of time. It's ridiculous. I've said it before. I'll say it over and over again. Dana White did exactly what Vince McMahon did, and he kind of killed the market for himself. And I think the UFC's peaked. It's not going to get legalized, legislated in New York. I don't think ever at this point, if it hasn't already. Or if it does, it's when MMA, I think, becomes more of an afterthought. And as long as we got fucking psychos like War Machine going out there beating the shit out of their girlfriends, people, the public and the media are still going to have a negative opinion and a negative view as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. And it's still hard to consider it even close to being mainstream because it's still not legal everywhere. And maybe when UFC 100 was the talk of the UFC, I mean, since then it's just been downhill. And this is coming from somebody who used to watch every fucking pay-per-view, used to watch all the prelims, and now it's like, oh yeah, there was UFC last night. I missed it. Whatever. The card wasn't that good. I don't care.
Yeah, whoops.
And I don't know.
I thought about the same thing, and it's been the same thing for a long time where, like you just said, I used to watch every single pay-per-view when there was only pay-per-views.
And every pay-per-view was awesome.
And now there's free fights, and I don't even watch free fights sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I get home, I got something to do. Before I wouldn't make plans on Saturday if there was a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I would watch the pay-per-view. But it's not happening anymore, man. What did we used to do? I think about that the other day. Before prelims and everything, how did you watch the prelims before?
I used to find them online. Used to usually find them through.
But there's
through
no way you
websites.
would watch them live, right?
Well, yeah, I would watch them live. I would stream them live. They usually always had the prelims on TV. Well, they would, whatever station, if it was Spike that was showing it. Usually, they've been doing it for a while with the Facebook prelims. That's been around for a few years now. So you used to watch the first.
Before that, they were taped, but no one anywhere would. No, you could not, even online, you couldn't stream them.
No, not back. If we go back a few years, yeah, I think if you go back 5 years, I don't think the prelims were being broadcast at all. If you were lucky, if they still had extra time, they'd show a couple of prelim fights maybe after the main event.
Yeah.
But that's probably it. So unless you were there live, you weren't seeing these guys fight.
Or until the DVD came out.
Yeah. But,
that's crazy now that you can see every single fight on the card.
But the undercard and the prelims are just loaded with names now. I don't even recognize who the fuck these guys are. Half of them are Ultimate Fighter competitors from the last few seasons, which I haven't watched. I don't know who any of these guys are anymore. It's just, there's too many of them. There's just not enough to care about.
Well, if you take a look at the card last night, I'm sorry, but fuck, man.
Like Gray Maynard.
You got Bader and OSP as the main event. I know it's a free fight. I know it was. I watched it. I watched a few prelim fights. You know, what fight did I watch? It was a pretty good fight. You had Tom Watson versus Alvey, Sam
Alvey, another Ultimate Fighter kid. Yeah,
ended up the third round was good, but the first two rounds, Tom Watson the other kid wasn't doing anything. But it was free, so I'm like, I had dinner. I tuned in. My son, I was like, I'm taking over TV. You know, I'm like, I'm watching. So I watched a few fights, and then when the main card came on, it was still free. I didn't even watch the first few fights.
I'm like, I don't know who the fuck Robbie Peralta is. I don't know who Jack May is. Like, these are two guys who are on the main card. I mean, Tim Boach versus Brad Tavares. Does anybody really care about Tim Boach anymore?
Another comeback fight, apparently.
Yeah,
he was getting demolished for a round, and then he came back and knocked him out in the second round. But then again, I mean, not too long ago, you saw Tim Boach fighting for probably what was the number one contendership, and then now he's fighting for peanuts on a free card.
Oh, he lost 3 of 4.
You know,
no, he's won 2 of his last 5.
Outside of the top 5, it sucks for most fighters because I think it's just saturated.
Yeah, there's too many guys.
It's just saturated, and it's sad because I'm such a fan of MMA. I'm not just a fan. I do that shit. I train it. I love it. I'm passionate about it. So much passionate that it kills me, breaks my heart when I see that all these cards every other week. I mean, sometimes there's 2 cards on the same night.
Yeah.
Like, why? How do you think that's good for business? I don't understand. And as much as I like MMA, I think it's at a point where it's mostly plateaued right now.
Yeah.
Ever since the Fox deal, it's hard to follow everything. And I have a lot of friends that are fans of fighting, fan of MMA, and they come to me sometimes to know what's going on because they don't follow it all the time. And I'm like, I'll be honest, man. I follow it. I know probably more than the majority but mostly it's because I read about it online. I spend a lot of my day on my breaks. I'm like, I'll go on all the MMA news and rumor stuff. But when it comes to watching fights, I'm like, the the quality of fighters are so good nowadays that when you get into the bigger matchups, the talent is so equal that the margin for error is so small that most of the time it ends up being a boring fight. And a good point that I wanted to talk about related to MMA that I just popped in my head, and I thought about it last night when I was watching a fight. Last night I watched a fight between Sarah McMahon and Lauren Murphy, I believe it was.
Okay.
It was in the prelims. So you got Sarah McMahon that just fought Rousey and lost in the first round. She went from fighting the champion in a main event to fighting in a prelim for a free fight. That's one thing. All right. A second thing is, as I was watching the fight, I realized that, wow, I can't believe that this woman, as much of a fan as I was, I was cheering for her when she fought Rousey. I liked her. She was a Olympian. I thought, I respected her. I watched her fight last night, and I was like, I can't believe this girl fought for the championship just one fight ago.
Yeah.
She's clearly not ready. She's great wrestling, but Lauren Murphy landed more strikes during the whole fight, even though she spent the majority of the fight on her back.
Really?
All the offense came from Lauren Murphy from her back.
Oh, and that's why we had the split decision result.
That's right. One judge actually saw it like it, in my opinion, should have been judged. And here's the issue, and it's been an issue. Everybody's talking about it. You've talked about it. I've talked about it. Everybody that watches MMA, it's about the judging. And this last night, that fight was a perfect example of why judging in MMA is flawed. Sarah McMahon controlled the fight with the takedowns, kept getting the takedowns, landed a little bit of strikes while in guard. She mostly decided to stay in guard for some reason, even though Lauren Murphy had her guard wide open. I think in the second round, she finally passed the guard into half guard, but still wasn't landing that much damage. She would lay for a long time, then explode for damage, while Lauren Murphy would be landing elbows and strikes from the bottom, even doubling, if not tripling the amount of strikes landed versus McMahon. But I was tweeting about it, and I said it doesn't matter how much strikes she lands if she's not controlling the position, and if those strikes aren't landed from the top position, they don't matter. The judges are not going to see it like that, and I think that's a big issue in judging, because you got a 10-point must system that's based off of boxing basically. But there's too many variables in MMA. You have the takedown defense. You have your striking, your boxing, your kickboxing, your leg kicks. You got ground strikes, submission attempts, submission defense. I mean, I don't know what the fix is, but I truly believe that last night, the perfect example. This is how this fight should have been judged. Sarah McMahon should have gotten points for takedowns, just like a grappling match. When there's a grappling match, there's no striking. You get a certain amount of points for a takedown, a certain amount of points for passing the guard, certain amount of points for a sweep. You get the back, you get points. So on, so forth, you get points. Yeah. So if you're in a defensive mode in a grappling match, you're not getting many points. If the guy's passing your guard, getting control, you get points. If he's getting your back, he's getting points. If he's getting the takedown, he's getting points. Well, in an MMA match yesterday, it was a perfect example. Sarah McMahon got a takedown. She shouldn't have gotten points for the takedown. On the grappling aspect, on the ground, she controlled it. She might get some points for controlling the match and the tempo. She did pass guard at one point, I believe. Give her points for that. But the damage and the striking, all the other cheat. And at the end of the day, you're in a fight. In my opinion, a fight should be based on who did most damage. This girl, this guy. This guy did more damage. Doesn't matter what position he was in. Who did more damage? If this was a street fight, who would have won?
How many times have we seen that's never the result? But you're also one. I remember you saying that you thought GSP won that fight against Johnny Hendricks, but who did the more damage? Definitely Hendricks.
Hendricks did more, yeah. But I think when I say more damage, I think it should be judged by category. I think you should have one or two judging just the striking. You should have one or two judging maybe just the grappling aspect of it, and then one or two maybe judging the control and the X factors, like the variables. You know what I mean, of stuff like that.
Cage control.
I took it round per round when it came to the GSP fight, and I think that at the end of the day, I think back then maybe I would see it differently now. Even Hendricks definitely landed more strikes, thus landing more damage. I guess. Although sometimes strikes don't necessarily equal damage.
Yeah,
you can
and it's also when you're basing it round by round too, right? I guess, yeah, it's tricky because at the end of 5 rounds, you can't just say, well, who did the most damage? Because you know what? You've already given your scores by each round. So by that point, unless you wipe out the round by round or you do, wasn't Pride like that? Pride was based on the entire fight.
Yeah.
Not, but they also did what? 1 10-minute round, 1 5-minute round?
And they also gave penalties for delaying fights and wasting fights, which I think is something that should be introduced. There's so many things that just could be, just educating judges on fighting MMA, mixed martial arts, should already make a big difference. But they don't. There's a lot of judges that don't know squat about MMA. They just sit there like, I've heard about people actually asking, like, what's that guy doing right now? Like, the guy's going for submission and the judge has no clue what the guy's going for.
Really?
What is that thing he's trying to do? Like, are you shitting me, dude? You're a fucking judge and you're asking me what that fucking thing is doing while holding that thing? That's a fucking submission. Everybody should know what that fucking thing is. Jesus. Anyway, back to Jones before I took a piss break. I wanted to talk about this Jones. I've gotten a lot of questions regarding that and what my opinion was on the brawl and stuff. And if you ask me my opinion, I believe the whole thing is a joke, in my opinion. Number one. I believe right away this was most likely a work of some sort. And when I say work, I think there was an understanding that somebody either kind of said, listen, spice this thing up a little bit.
Yeah.
They probably didn't expect them to take it so far, but I think it was pretty ignorant or pretty funny how Dana White and the UFC heads reacted after, like, there was like, oh, this is a disgrace to the sport. And bitch, please, you most likely had your hand in this at some point. You probably went to one of them or not, if not both, went, listen, this is a media. How about you guys do a little something and then we're going to give you a little backlash after, but don't worry, nothing's going to happen. And then this happens. Is it bad for the sport? It's entertaining. Is it bad for people that already have a bad opinion on the sport? Does that fuel their opinion on the negativity of MMA? Sure it does, but fuck that. They would have already had a negative thing. It's like that whole War Machine thing. The whole War Machine is like, oh, look at MMA fighters. They're beating up their girlfriend and then they're fucking going to jail. Yeah, but War Machine is a fucking idiot. That guy should be...
But that's it. But the average person has no idea who he is. All they know is that he's an MMA fighter because every news article makes mention of MMA fighter on the run, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing with the Cormier Jones stint. It gets people talking about it. You know, it gets their name out there. It gets the UFC and Cormier and Jones's name back into the news because, like I've said, it's not nearly where it was a few years ago, where just everything was UFC.
Yeah,
now it's like, oh yeah, there's another UFC fight. Oh yeah, did you see that brawl? Like, at least it'll get the average person. It got me watching the video.
It was on TSN. It was on SportsCenter. Yeah. 10 years ago, UFC, anything happened, it wasn't on any national sports broadcast. But I mean, my take on this was that as much as it makes the fight more entertaining, at the end of the day, these guys are still going to have to go in the cage and fight.
Did you hear their little one-on-one where they were still mic'd up, apparently?
That's another fucking thing, man. They were still mic'd up and one was saying, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, you're a pussy.
Kill you right now. Like, you think I'm just going to let you kill me, man?
Yeah.
You think I'm just going to let... It stunk of bad acting, if you ask me.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Man, Cormier is a guy that goes on Fox when he's not fighting. Yeah. He's a commentator. Yeah. He knows how to work it, man. Jones is fake as fuck. I've been saying this since he became champion. he is fake. Whoever you see him on camera, that is not John Jones. That's not John Jones. Either he thinks that by being a bad guy, he's gonna, or he's just trying so hard. It just stinks to me. I wish he was just who he wanted to be.
Yeah, he really pulled a 180 there as soon as he became champion.
Really hard to be somebody he's not. And it just, that's why I can't stand him. That's why I will never respect him right now as a fighter. He might be the baddest motherfucker in the game right now. Like, he's badass. He'll kick anybody's ass. But as far as a human being, as a mixed martial artist, I have a hard time with that, man.
Yeah.
I remember, like, if you, like, GSP, as much as there's criticism against him, I mean, if there's he's the best poster boy the UFC ever had for a mixed martial artist. Polite, educated, he's smart, he knew what he's doing, somewhat good looking. If, you know, I mean, come on. It's GSP. Nicest guy,
good role
most
model.
polite. Fuck, man, never got into trouble or anything, and he, you know, never said anything. He's not no Nick Diaz or anything. But I enjoy the other aspect of it. I enjoy Nick Diaz when he goes on a rampage and a rant. It's funny, it's fun. It makes me want to watch the fight more. Is this brawl gonna make me want to watch Jones versus Cormier? Of course it is. And if you say it's not, you're a fucking liar. Of course it is gonna make me want. I was gonna watch the fight anyway.
Yeah.
They're the two baddest motherfuckers at 205, you know, or top there. Cormier is a bad motherfucker. I mean, this is going to be a fight. This is not going to be a walk in the park for Jones, although I think Jones is still going to win.
I think he's just too tall. He's going to have way too much range.
But I think Cormier is going to give him, you know, a little bit of a fight. And then, you know, and then you got Gustafsson. Gustafsson's also a bad motherfucker. I mean,
yeah. But he's saying he doesn't want to take a fight until he gets his title shot. But you know how the UFC is. And, and rewarding guys who do step up to the plate and kind of forgetting about those who don't.
Anthony Johnson is a bad man at 205, man.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
damn, he knocked out Nogueira in like 44 seconds.
Oh, man.
But Nogueira is like,
he's done.
Both brothers should just quit MMA.
Please.
Like, please don't come in the ring anymore. Like, number one, I can't tell you apart. And number two, you guys can't fight anymore. You guys are 33. You look like you're 78 years old.
Yeah, they're the oldest looking 33-year-olds ever.
Oh my God.
It's crazy to think they're like the same age as us, eh? You're like, fuck.
Wow. Especially Big Nog. Man, you look at that guy, he's got a lot of mileage on him, man. That's not good, man.
Man, they've taken way too much damage in the last few fights. So yeah, I'd like to see Johnson versus Gustafsson. And well, speaking of guys who, you know, kind of got forgotten about, what's going on with TJ fucking Grant?
He had the concussion problems, and he can't shake him off. Apparently.
You can't shake him?
No. He's trying to get a fight on the Halifax. They're fucking having the UFC in Halifax.
That's right.
Rory Mack versus Tariq Safadine.
Yeah.
That's the main event.
No.
He's trying to get a fight on that card, but he's not cleared by doctor yet.
Oh, he's still not cleared by the doctors. Yeah,
Apparently
our buddy Brian Langill's pretty excited about that.
Yes.
I know he wants to go see that.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian and his crew still.
They don't take vacations apparently.
No,
they keep podcasting.
Just keep podcasting. I mean, good for them. Fuck. Yeah.
Did you see that camera he got? That
GoPro camera?
That fucking camera is cool.
Want to get a GoPro, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need a GoPro. I wish I had one on my vacation. We went kayaking.
No kidding. Well, I mean, you can bring it in the water and everything. I was watching his videos. I mean, it's simple stuff, but it looks so cool. Especially that you can like slow it down and everything.
I think he does mostly that with iMovie. I think you can do that with pretty much any camera. You can slow it down and do the editing and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, that's badass camera. My cousin has one. He uses it a lot on his boat and stuff, and he goes and. But it's pretty badass. Yeah. It's pretty, and it's HD. It's fucking high quality.
And they're not that expensive, I don't think.
It started like $349. I think you can get a good camera. So, nice. Man, that's anyway. That's the MMA. I mean, that Jones Cormier is probably one of the fights that I'm mostly looking for. I'm looking forward to the TJ Dillashaw versus Barao rematch as well. I want to see if Dillashaw can repeat the performance he had against Barao, and how Barao is going to answer in this first fight as the challenger and not the champion. Yeah, that's going to be very fucking interesting, man. Yeah. You know, another thing that pissed me off this week was, which I think is also a thing that happens a lot in MMA, but that nobody talks about, is that I think there's a lot of people that pull out of fights and they blame injuries when they're not injured.
Oh,
And a perfect example of this is Uriah Faber.
okay.
Uriah Faber was signed to fight what's that Japanese fighter? Kid Yamamoto.
Okay.
Okay.
He was supposed to fight Kitty.
He was supposed to fight in Japan.
Okay.
It was the first time that Faber would fight outside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, I was like, this is not good. Because I'm sure he's not a fan. Somebody that's fought his whole career mostly in the same area is not a fan at a late point in their career going to fight somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because mentally it fucks with them. They're never fought anywhere else, especially in Japan where you got to travel
Yeah, you're
long
gonna get jet
hours.
lag.
It's fucked up, man, you know? And the minute that fight was announced and not the minute it was announced, but the minute it was announced that Faber had never fought outside and that it was the first time he was ever going to fight outside the US of A, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled out of this fight.
Oh, here he was supposed to fight Masanori Kanehara.
But Kanehara was a replacement,
And that was a replacement of Kid Yamamoto.
And
Because I
I
never even heard of this guy, and he last fought
maybe
in
I'm
deep.
totally
He wasn't even fighting in the UFC.
Here's
It
what
would be his
happened.
first UFC fight, and coming off a loss in deep, and he's going to fight Uriah? I don't get that one.
Here's what happened. I think this is what happened. I need to get my facts straight here. Kid Yamamoto was signed. Here, let me see. Blah, blah, blah. Yamamoto was expected to face Ivan Menjivar on September 21st, 2013 at UFC 65. However, Yamamoto was removed and replaced by Wilson Reyes. Okay, maybe I am totally fucking wrong here then. But I think what happened is that Faber was supposed to fight somebody that got injured, and then all of a sudden he got injured.
Yeah, because Yamamoto hasn't fucking fought in over 2 years.
I'm totally
Is he
wrong.
retired?
Sorry, guys. I really, for some fucking reason, I thought. All right, let's see. Faber was briefly linked to a bout with Masanori Kanehara on September 20th, 2014. However, before the bout was officially announced, Faber was removed and Kanehara will now face Alex Caceres. Okay. For some reason, I thought that Kanehara was also a replacement for a fighter that Faber was fought, but you know, those Japanese, they're all the same. No, I'm just kidding. And so, yeah, he was supposed, it was really wasn't officially announced, but then I read something that said, oh, Faber's out with injury. I'm like, oh, that's okay, whatever. I'm like, what's the injury? And then on the same day he announced that he was injured, I see an Instagram picture of Faber training. Like, motherfucker, are you fucking injured? And ever since there, every week, every day, I see pictures of him training after. He's always posting pictures. Like, you pulled out of a fight because of an injury and you keep posting training fighters?
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't want to go to Japan is what you didn't want to do. And I think it happens a lot more than people seem to lead on. I think it happens a lot more where fighters will be like, I'm going to pull out of this fight because I don't feel like fighting this guy, especially when they're planning, it's a planned fight and one of the guys gets injured and then the other guy's like, oh, I got a replacement, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll fight him, but then you're like, oh, fuck, I was training for a striker, now I got to go fight a wrestler. Do I really fucking I'm going to say I'm injured. I wouldn't say they're faking injury, but because a lot of I think UFC has to check at a certain point. Give me the doctor's note that shows you're injured, right? I think a lot of these fighters have injuries. They keep fighting on, and then, but some of them might use them as like, I was gonna fight with my injury, but I think I'm gonna get this done right now, you know. So I think that's something that might have happened in this in this instant. Supposedly, I'm just saying this, you know, talking out of my ass right now. So, and so 2 hours are over right now.
Are we really?
Yeah, 2 hours and 12
Goddamn.
minutes. Had a lot of stuff to say, and it's been a while since we podcast. A lot of time to think, and a lot of time to try to figure out how to make the podcast better. And you know, I've tinkered with a lot of things, and trying to get some guesses now, which will hopefully help people. Because honestly, I think we're the best podcast in the world right now, to be honest. The best podcast on the internet, motherfucker, that nobody's listening to. But I think I've always said it. I've said it before. I think we have something good going on. I just, I know we have to be patient with the fact that before people, it just needs one guy to go, oh shit, this is good. And then
it has only been a year. And
yeah.
It's not like we've done one every week either.
That's right. So I think I would love to figure out a schedule with me, you, and everybody else where we get the podcast a bit more often. And I'm asking people. I'm gonna get some guesses. I've said this before, but I've talked to people. They've said they'd come and they would come on our show. So starting in September, you should start seeing a few guests here and there. We've had a guest before with Brian through FaceTime and stuff, but I'm talking about in studio. So starting in September, I'm working real hard on getting some people in here, sitting with us in our hot sauna. It gets hot as fuck in here, but whatever. In September, it's cool, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And I think by having guests, it'll give a different dynamic to the podcast, and it's going to help our viewership. I think they'll tell people they were here, and I think it's just word of mouth. I think
because they're like, oh yeah, you're going to be on a podcast. I want to tune in.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like we're interviewing fucking I'm not a journalist. I'm not here to interview anybody. I just want somebody to come and sit down and shoot the shit for a couple of hours. And if it happens to be somebody that's, an artist or somebody that does something interesting, either as a job or as a hobby, or if you have a project that you want to come on the show and maybe advertise a little bit, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you can hold a conversation for a couple of hours with with a goofball like me and a guy like you. I think it's we're not hard to get along with. I think if you sit anybody here right now, you could have a 2-hour conversation easily.
I think so.
If you just spit subjects at somebody. And so definitely working hard. I'm trying to market as much as possible the podcast without being annoying on Facebook and Twitter and stuff and Instagram and all that. I don't want to be posting every 5 minutes. Hey, check us out. And we're right here. But, a little bit, just to remind people, hey, it's so easy. You go on iTunes, you go on SoundCloud, you can download our podcast and it's easy. You can put it on your phone. You can listen it on your way to work. You like us, you like us. You don't like us, you don't listen to us. It's that simple, Plus we're on YouTube and stuff. So I think we just have to keep digging at it, I can be so impatient sometimes with that thing. I'm like, I want everything happening now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen like that, which is good. Anyway, if you're listening to this and you're enjoying us, you can check us our other podcasts at YouTube or on YouTube. All of them are on YouTube. They're all on iTunes. They're on SoundCloud. I have some episodes as well on Podomatic, our older episodes. So check us out. Check us the website at modernmaverick.net. You can check through the website. There's a link to everything you need to know, everything you need to hear or download our podcast. So that's modernmaverick.net. I'm on the Twitter at Steph Paulin, STEPHPAULIN, and JFlynn, JFlynnMTL.
Yes, sir.
On Twitter, JFlynnMTL. Anything you want to add before we?
I just wanted to mention Robin Williams passing away.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
We didn't get a chance. Still really sad about what happened. I mean, especially the way going with suicide, and then finding out that he's been suffering from depression for a long time.
It was a big
that he had
surprise
Parkinson's disease as well. Like, yeah, I don't remember the last time a celebrity death shocked me, genuinely. I mean, if it brings more awareness to the people suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts and whatnot, great. I even noticed the other day in the news, they had a picture up of a guy whose family was worried because he was suicidal and he went missing. You don't really see that very often.
No.
So I was like, hopefully it's opening some eyes. But on a brighter note, I wanted to maybe ask you, what's your favorite Robin Williams movie of all time?
Favorite Robin Williams movie.
So many to pick from. I'm looking right now. I'm like, if I had to pick one, which one would I pick?
I don't think I've seen all of his movies, but I just watched Miss Doubtfire yesterday. It was on TV, and it's not. I mean, it's a family movie. If you can put it, but I think it's a pretty funny performance. I think my girlfriend loves that movie. She quotes it all the time. I think where I'm at in my life right now, if I had to say right now, if he wasn't dead, that's probably one of my favorite. Just the performance, and you could really. I think it's one of the movies that really shows him like different types of acting. Like he acts when he's in character and when he's out of character, and was just playing a normal role. The most memorable performance I've seen him in is 1 Hour Photo. Although the movie was probably shitty, his performance was ridiculous.
I liked it. Yeah, he was really good in that movie.
It's the first time that it was like, oh my God, this guy's not just a funny guy. Like, was this before Insomnia? Or
they
after
were right
Insomnia?
around the same time, actually. Insomnia came out. They both came out the same year. So
yeah, so
I think 1 Hour Photo came out just before it, but yeah, it was the same year, back in 2002. As far as the most memorable performance, or one of his best, as far as maybe the movie wasn't so amazing, but the Birdcage, I'll never get over his performance in that movie. He was absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And you mentioned 1 Hour Photo, but there's a good one if you haven't seen. It came out a few years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago. It's called World's Greatest Dad, and it deals with the fact that his kid ends up dying accidentally, which is kind of ironic, sadly. By hanging himself, but like the autoerotic asphyxiation thing, you choke yourself while you jerk off. Well, the whole thing is that his kid's a jerk in the movie right off the bat. He ends up finding him dead that way, and he covers it up to make it sound like it was an actual suicide. And he kind of like goes with it, and it turns him into, he kind of like creates this image of who his son was, but he wasn't. Like everyone, like he creates this backstory to his son being, this troubled kid who was writing poetry and was into this and that, and it kind of makes him the world's greatest dad in that sense. So it's like a dark comedy that I really liked. It was a different one. It was a pretty cool movie. I've never
seen that. I'm looking at it right now.
I would recommend it. It's very different.
I'm looking at his movie because I'm sure I fucking forgot a lot of them.
Fisher King, you ever see that one with Jeff Bridges?
No.
That's another good one. It's an old one where it's more of a dramatic role. That was a good one.
Let's see, Insomnia came before, in same year, but before. He came out with a few movies, that Death to Smoochie, Insomnia, 1 Hour Photo, and Bicentennial Man also. I forgot about that movie.
Dead Poet Society, Cadillac Man. I like Cadillac Man.
Yeah, Dead Poet Society was probably one of it. Goodwill Hunting.
Of course. Good Morning Vietnam. I mean, he was able to. He showed his acting skills pretty early on. As far as everyone always like. I remember when 1 Hour Photo and was a different side to Robin Williams, but he did do dramatic roles. We kind of forgot about that because there was comedy sprinkled in between, right?
Yeah, Dead Poet Society. Good Morning Vietnam was comedy, but it was also dramatic.
But that's it. But 1 Hour Photo, there was no laughs at all in a movie like that.
That's pretty creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
But it showed like a really different side of his talent. Yeah. The most memorable thing about him was his 2002 comedy special, Robin Williams Live on Broadway.
Oh yeah. My favorite is Live at the Met back in the 80s there, early 80s, I think that one's from.
Yeah. Live on Broadway is the first time that I really discovered him as a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. Before that, I've mostly seen him as an actor. I knew he was a stand-up comedian, but I didn't really watch any of his stuff. And then when I remember watching this, I remember I was living with two of my buddies, and we discovered it online, I think. One of my friends downloaded it or saw it online, and we must have watched. I bought the DVD after, and we must have watched it at least a dozen times. And I remember laughing so hard. I didn't remember laughing so hard since probably Raw and Delirious. Eddie Murphy. It was like really that memorable and that fucking funny. It was really funny, and his energy on stage was like no other. I don't think anybody. They had a special on today, actually. It was his last one. Self-destruction or something like that. I don't know what it was, but funny. Not his best stuff, but still, it is sad because it was mostly shocking. I was driving home from the gym and I had TSN 690 on, and they actually broke the news as it was going on, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, is this for real? And then I went on Twitter and Facebook when I got home, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, pretty shocking, but pretty sad too, especially not knowing that he was suffering from depression so bad to the point.
Yeah, like I knew he had mentioned it. He had
suicide.
opened up about it, with the whole trips to rehab and stuff. And it turns out that his last trip to rehab was to treat his depression, and it wasn't. He wasn't drinking or anything.
Wow.
But it's sad. I mean, to think it's always the best artists, the most creative people, the true stars always seem to have something that troubles them.
Yeah.
And you realize that, the art, whether it was as stand-up or as an actor, you realize that's his release, right? I mean, that's how he's able to deal with certain things, just putting a humorous spin on life in general. And to think that he was such a manic, crazy guy. I mean, watch any of his interviews, whether it's on Letterman or go back, to ones on with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. I mean, this guy was off the wall, but I mean, he's been struggling with demons all of his life.
He was on drugs though early on in his career.
A lot of cocaine.
Yeah, a lot. You can tell. It was like,
well, yeah, that's it. Watch An Evening at the Met, which was 1986, by the way. I thought it was earlier than that. But yeah, I mean, he's just a rambling lunatic, you know. But it's hilarious to watch.
It's funny.
You just can't sit still,
You're right, though. All the best actors, all the best artists, they all have this. They all seem to have these demons, this thing they're struggling with. And I think it's just reality. To them, their mind works in a different way, where reality to them doesn't make sense. It just they live in a different platform type thing. Like when they act, when they sing, or when they create, that's when they're at their best. Like you said, that's their release. Yeah. They seem to be feeling in their own world. But then when they have to deal with reality, they fall back on drugs. And it's like Philip Seymour Hoffman was a perfect example. Amazing actor. And then who knew that he was a heroin addict? Like, I didn't know that. Enough to kill him,
Yeah.
Like, you look at him in a movie, you're like, this guy can't be on drugs. He's amazing. Like, fuck, man. But you kind of know nowadays that all these best actors, all kooky in their own type of way. Yeah. If you look at the Johnny Depp, or if you look at anybody that's remotely successful at an art form like acting and singing, there's something that you have to kind of realize that they're so good at it because...
their brains don't function the same way the average person's does, right? That's it. They're really on another level. That's what makes them great.
It's like a different animal. Yeah. They're like a different species of human. They're not human. That's one form of human, and we're just people are.
It's like
something
comparing
else.
a tiger to a household cat.
Yeah.
It's just maybe the same family, but it ain't the same thing.
They're not the same. It's sad though. It's really. Even like they were showing a lot of movies with him on the weekend, and I was like, I never thought it would be hard to watch a movie with him, but then you watch him and then you really pay attention to him, and you're like, fuck, man, this is weird. This guy just died, and all of a sudden they're paying all these tribute by playing all these movies of him, and then you see like a sad, like they had a scene in Missed Upfire yesterday, and like with his kids and stuff, and I was like, man, this is just too much, man. This is really emotional. It's hitting me in the right spot, But definitely a guy, and 63 years old. I mean, to call it quits and hang yourself. You really, it has to be at a point where it's really bad, So it sucks we had to end up on a depressing note, but it's good that you mentioned it. I totally forgot about it, and I think everybody in any sort of artist any person or any artist should really give him his props and give him his respect.
And that asshole Gene Simmons goes on TV talking about how he has no pity for people who are suicidal and depressed. And
who?
Gene Simmons from Kiss. He's always got to fucking open his mouth about something. He's such a know-it-all.
Somebody from CNN too, right on the air the night it happened, he said that he called him a coward.
Yes, that's right. But
fuck,
well,
man?
then radio stations decided, you know what, Gene Simmons, we're gonna ban Kiss from our airwaves. No more
Are you
Kiss.
serious?
Yeah, I guess station in Calgary did it, I believe.
Oh, good.
I don't know if others will follow suit, but he's just, and then he tried to backtrack and say that's not what I meant, blah blah blah. Well, no, that's exactly what you said. He was quoted. I mean, he said, "When I see somebody on a building, I'm the one who's screaming, jump. What are you waiting for? Stop wasting our time." Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, there's no misinterpreting what you just said. Like, you have no pity for people who are suicidal.
There's so much behind the whole thing. I've never really been depressed to the point where I wanted to even thought about it, but I've been depressed many times in my life, and it comes and goes like everybody, but never to the point where I acted on it. But I can imagine, like, sometimes people just, you live in a certain world where it's just there's the reality is totally disconnected, and like, you know, it's hard to imagine, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't call them cowards. I don't think it's although I wouldn't hope that I wouldn't choose that path. I don't really lose any respect for somebody that does. I mean, we don't really know what happened to him or what was he thinking, and nobody knows. So I don't think anybody should be judging.
And I was talking to somebody actually, and financially he was in a lot of trouble too. His last 2 divorces, he didn't have much left. I think money-wise, and I think that was one of his. And then on top of finding out you're sick with Parkinson's, I mean, it must have really.
Yeah, that was pretty recent news to him, I think.
Yeah, like nobody knew. His wife was the one who announced it after the fact. So, yeah, no, a little sad note, but I mean, you know, somebody who's definitely worth mentioning.
You have to think also you've
and
been
an issue that needs addressing. So,
if you've been a popular actor, you've been on the top of all your life, and all of a sudden your career is coming to an end, even though you're older, and that's mostly the reason for it. The fact that you have to kind of realize that you're not who you used to be as an artist, kind of probably so more heavy on somebody that we can't even fathom what that feeling is about. Like, you go from me being on top at a certain point in your life than just being like any other actor or artist. You're like, I was on top, I was here, now I'm here, and I don't know. I don't know, but with that said, we're hitting the 2.5 hour mark. And I think we should call it quits.
Yeah.
Episode 22 of the Modern Maverick podcast. That was it. We're done. And thanks for tuning in. I'd like to give a big shout out to our listeners and anybody that tunes in for the whole length of the podcast. Check us out, like I said, www.modernmaverick.net, on Twitter at Steph Paulin, and at JFlynn MTL on Facebook. Facebook.com/The Modern Maverick, and you can catch all the links, all the information on our website at modernmaverick.net. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon. Hopefully next week we'll have another episode, and then another episode, and then another episode, and that's it. Later, fuckers. Ciao.
Peace.